Cultivating as an earthly immortal in the world of mages. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51, King Mu's Secret Realm. The breathing method is selling like crazy. As soon as the idea of the spiritual realm came out, Feng looked at the dark wood under the seeds again and felt much more comfortable. Just from the quality point of view, the ghost tree fragments and the seeds of the energy-absorbing ancient tree are both top-notch. In the wizard world, things of this quality are very rare in the secondary continent, and only some major forces can produce them in the Trudeau continent. Not to mention the earthly immortal world with poor spiritual energy, Feng estimated that once this kind of thing appeared there, it would inevitably cause countless bloody storms and fights. Just like the Chu master that Feng is familiar with, if he can get a little bit of ghost tree fragments, he can probably laugh happily for 3 days and 3 nights, practice into his yin ghost spirit realm, and break through the realm is a piece of cake. However, the idea of constructing a spiritual realm with the ghost tree fragments and energy-absorbing ancient tree seeds has been established, and Feng only has an idea. He still needs to carefully consider the specific construction method. The King Mu Changsheng Sutra records the construction method of the King Mu spirit realm with the natal spirit plant as the core, which involves the Tao and the principles of the earthly immortal world. Feng still needs to spend time to study it slowly. From the perspective of a wizard, he began to learn the theory of constructing a spiritual space when he was a top-grade Taoist child. To be honest, this is a bit ahead of the times. In the wizard world, except for some people who are gifted and born with a high affinity for space, there has never been a precedent for studying space at the third-class apprentice stage. A third-class wizard apprentice has weak mental power and poor quality, and cannot observe or sense space at all. If you can't even see it, how can you study and use it? Only some old-fashioned formal wizards are qualified to study and control the power of space. It allows people to study space at the top-grade Taoist child, even at the third-class apprentice stage. This is the mystery of the earthly immortal method and the power of the earthly immortal method. Feng exclaimed. Time is respected and space is king. If you can master it in advance and slowly comprehend it, there will definitely be many benefits in the future. After sorting out his thoughts, Feng took out a jade slip that recorded the King Mu Changsheng Sutra and carefully read the information about the exercises behind it. The later techniques involve the establishment of the spiritual realm space, theories, secrets, and a variety of other techniques, which were more than 10 times more than the previous text and illustrations. Feng started to study and soon entered the state. He had been a wizard apprentice in the botanical garden for so many years, and had long cultivated a good habit of research. Feng was happy from the bottom of his heart to be exposed to complex new knowledge. Feng was in the underground laboratory studying the spiritual realm. At the same time, on the other side, Baron Andre and his men held a meeting for 3 consecutive days and finally discussed all matters related to the popularization of the breathing method. Hongye town has a large area and a population of 70,000 to 80,000. It is not realistic to popularize the breathing method for so many people at once. The night breathing method, in addition to the special method of condensing the seeds of life, is ultimately just a method of exercise based on the human body. After generations of experiments and summaries, a more efficient method has been found. People who learn the night breathing method need to consume a lot of food and meat to exercise and grow flesh. A knight who condenses the seeds of life eats enough food in 1 day for an ordinary person to eat for 5 to 6 days. If all the people in Hongye town were knights, even if the rich Hongye town was hollowed out, it would not be able to support so many knights. Therefore, considering the various situations in Hongye town, Feng did not give his second brother Andre all his suggestions, but took out a very simple night breathing method. This night breathing method is very basic, with peaceful progress and low consumption. If you practice it to the extreme, you can only be a medium-level knight apprentice at most. There is no possibility of condensing the seed of life and becoming a knight. At best, it can only strengthen the body. Feng promoted this night breathing method just to improve the physical fitness of most residents in Hongye town, so that Hongye town, which has developed to the present, can withstand this change. As for the residents in Hongye town who want to pursue power and aspire to become knights, Andre and Feng have prepared a way for them to rise. Andre joined the Hongye town guard and took the soldier system. Lu Feng joined Kane Manor and became an employee of the wizard and worked for him. The Hall family, which has been passed down for a long time, also used the Hongye breathing method as a publicity gimmick. The next morning, Hongye Town officially fired the first shot in the work of popularizing the night breathing method. On the huge bulletin board in front of Hongye Castle, a large font announcement was posted early, attracting countless Hongye Town residents to stop and watch. Someone recognized the words on the announcement, and seeing that there were many people around, he read it out directly. From today, in order to achieve the goal of strengthening the town and the people, Wizard Reston Baron Hongye will launch a campaign to popularize the night breathing method. Hongye Town will begin to teach the basic night breathing method for free. Every evening at 6 o'clock, the cavalry captain will teach everyone the basic night breathing method in the square in front of Hongye Castle. The official shops of Hongye Castle will start selling basic breathing secrets. Hongye Town residents can buy them on their own. Please learn them under the guidance of experienced people. The residents of Hongye Town and some foreign merchants gathered in front of the bulletin board were stunned when they heard the announcement. Then, there were bursts of earth-shaking exclamations. Long live Wizard Rest! Long live Baron Hongye! What is the night's breathing method? Every living person in the Trendy secondary continent knows it. A night's breathing method can basically be said to be a stepping stone to the aristocracy. Knights are the most numerous ruling class on the continent. But today, they did not hear wrongly. Hongye Town actually began to popularize the night's breathing method, just to make ordinary people stronger. For this group of ordinary people who will never be able to leave the secondary continent in their lifetime, this is simply a huge pie in the sky. There is no need for the people of Hongye Castle to mobilize and promote it. The name of the night's breathing method alone is enough to make everyone crazy. Soon, many people quietly got out of the crowd and hurried to the official store of Hongye Castle, rushing to buy the secret book of the night's breathing method. Either learn and practice it yourself, or sell it to other places. Within half an hour after the announcement of Hongye Castle was issued, 3,000 basic night's breathing methods were sold out in the 5 stores officially operated by Hongye Castle. The night's breathing method cost 10 silver coins per copy, and the buyers didn't even bargain, just left the money and left. If there weren't soldiers from Red Leaf Castle guarding the store entrances, I'm afraid there would be stampedes in several stores. It's so cool to make 300 gold coins in half an hour. Tell the printing workshop to increase its capacity and print it like crazy, in 3 shifts. Even if people stop, the machines can't stop. Looking at the gains from selling the night's breathing method, after letting go of the idea that the night's breathing method should not be spread outside, Andre said that it was easy to make money. According to the value of the basic breathing method, it only costs 1 or 200 gold coins to buy a copy of the night's breathing method among nobles. But this time, with the official cover, after spreading it widely, the cost can be easily earned back. It's so easy to make money by selling in large quantities. Second update. Readers who want to come to the group to urge for updates can join the QQ group. Welcome. Chapter 52 The Influence of Breathing Method, the Choice of Grand Duke Tulip. After a day of fermentation, the spread of basic breathing techniques has spread throughout Hongye Town. Everyone in Hongye Town who knew about this was shocked, but also extremely happy, and sincerely thanked Wizard Reston Baron Hongye. If they were in the world of earthly immortals, every household would probably set up a longevity tablet for the two. Of course, there are also some people with bad intentions, spies from other places, who saw the drastic changes in Hongye Town and felt a sense of crisis. While preparing to attend the night breathing method lecture in front of Hongye Castle in the evening, they tried every means to buy a book on basic night breathing method and send it back to their forces. Baron Andre ignored the dirty tricks in these invisible places in Hongye Town. He counted the gold coins happily while waiting for the breathing method teaching at 6 o'clock in the evening. It was a little dark, and a brilliant lighting technique lit up in the square in front of Hongye Castle. The bright ball of light floated in the square in front of the castle, illuminating the crowded square. On the high-rise building at the edge of the square, Lu Feng, Wizard Mathieu, Baron Andre, and other high-ranking figures in Hongye Town were standing by the window at this time, watching the breathing method teaching that was about to begin below. On the one hand, this was a grand event, and on the other hand, the two wizards stood here to deter the scoundrels. There were too many people gathered in the square. If someone maliciously made trouble, it would easily cause trouble. Lu Feng stood here, a third-class wizard apprentice. Others who wanted to make trouble had to consider whether they could withstand the anger of a third-class wizard apprentice. The secondary continent is not the Trudeau continent. There are no formal wizards here. The third-class wizard apprentice is already a strong group of people, and they can dominate the secondary continent. At 6 o'clock in the evening, when the time came, the cavalry captain Kadir of Hongye Castle walked onto the square with a serious expression and the high platform built for him. It was the first time that so many people were watching. To be honest, Kadir was a little nervous. But as he came on stage, everyone in the square fell silent spontaneously, concentrating and holding their breath, listening attentively to Kadir's next speech. According to the teaching process formulated by the Baron, a team of young soldiers walked up to the platform and stood behind Kadir. After a cough, Kadir recalled the content of the basic breathing method, and began to carefully and seriously teach the basic breathing method to the team of young soldiers behind him. Feng cast a sound amplification spell on Kadir, and Kadir's voice still spread throughout the square without shouting. Everyone in the field listened to Kadir's teaching carefully and was fascinated. 2 hours later, Kadir finished the last sentence of the basic breathing method, stopped, and the voice disappeared. Everyone in the field woke up from a dream, and their eyes were shining with excitement. Under the maintenance of the soldiers of Hongye Fort, the people in the square left in an orderly manner and ran home to try out the basic breathing method they had just learned. This kind of teaching did not last for one day. Kadir taught for 7 consecutive days. Except for the first day when Feng showed up, the rest of the time was in the hands of Wizard Mathieu and Baron Andre. Feng was only responsible for providing high-end combat support, and other time-consuming and laborious work should be handed over to Baron Andre and his men. The research on the spiritual realm has made Feng so busy that he is dizzy. How can he live if he is left to worry about these trivial matters? With the strong support of Hongye Castle in all aspects, the popularity of basic breathing methods among the residents of Hongye Town is slowly increasing. Men can strengthen their bodies and produce sperm and strengthen their yang, while women can increase their strength and beautify their skin. After a series of benefits were discovered, the residents of Hongye Town rolled up their sleeves like crazy. At the same time, a new industry, night instructors and training grounds, also slowly developed. With the restrictions on breathing methods released, Hongye Town embarked on a road of rapid development at a faster speed. When Hongye Town began to rapid development, the lords in the nearby territories were terrified after getting the secret book of basic breathing methods. Breathing method for all people, nights for all people. They can all understand what kind of scene will happen if Red Leaf Town is allowed to develop like this. The power of a knight can lead a small battle and crush a barony. 100 knights can easily defeat an earldom. 1,000 knights, 10,000 knights. How many people are there in Red Leaf Town? 70 or 80,000. Popularizing the breathing method for all people, at least a few thousand knights can be born. By then, even without the wizard rest in Red Leaf Town taking action, the Tulip Principality will kneel down and beg for mercy. Thinking of that terrible scene, the lords who got the news reported to the Grand Duke of Tulip one after another, and even collectively requested the Grand Duke of Tulip to launch a war against Red Leaf Town and destroy Red Leaf Town. They are nobles, and they will never allow Red Leaf Town to destroy the rules that have been passed down for a long time on this land, and they will not allow the mudlegs who can only dig for food on the land to ride on their heads and shit and piss. In the capital, in the Grand Duke's mansion, the Grand Duke of Tulip looked through a large stack of wax letters from various noble families and frowned. The things described in the letters are all the same. It was all because Red Leaf Town popularized the basic night breathing method, broke the rules, and requested the Grand Duke to start a war to eliminate the evil Red Leaf Town forces in the bud. Putting down the letter, Grand Duke Tulip picked up a printed copy of the basic night breathing method from Red Leaf Town, flipped through it, and immediately shook his head with a wry smile, and ordered the waiter next to him, "Burn these letters on the table. If anyone asks about my attitude towards Red Leaf Town, tell them to get out." "Yes, yes," the waiter responded nervously, then picked up the large stack of letters and left. After the waiter left, Grand Duke Tulip took the printed copy of the basic night breathing method and drove to a towering wizard tower outside the capital. The wizard tower was in an empty meeting room. Grand Duke Tulip respectfully reported the situation in Red Leaf Town to several Lawrence family wizards present, and handed the printed copy of the basic breathing method to the elders for circulation. At the same time, he also spoke out his own decision. After listening to all the developments, the wizard with white hair and black scales sitting at the first seat said in a hoarse voice, "Noel, you handled it well this time." With a wizard rest in charge of Red Leaf Town, The momentum of development is unstoppable, and it has become a force on par with our Lawrence family. If Rest had not been so ambitious, the Duchy of Tulip would have belonged to Redleaf Town long ago. Now, he is preparing to popularize basic night breathing methods in Redleaf Town, and is planning to spread the advanced cultural concepts of the Trudeau continent to the secondary continents. The Duchy of Tulip uses aristocrats to rule civilians, so there is no doubt that it will not be a match for Redleaf Town in the future. First update. Chapter 53, Undercurrent Surges, the prototype of Kingmu spiritual realm. In the future, make more friends with Hongye Town. Those nobles in the principality are just clowns. Do some knights want to overthrow the rule of wizards? It's all a joke. The power of wizards is not something that rubbish knights can shake. It won't be long before they will be turned into ashes in the rolling wave set off by Hongye Town. Several wizards from the Lawrence family have a thorough understanding of everything in Hongye Town and give Grand Duke Tulip an in-depth analysis of the future development. I understand. After listening to the teachings of the elders, Grand Duke Tulip left the wizard tower with peace of mind. On the other side, after a long time of sending letters, many noble families only received a reply of "get out." They looked very ugly. They formed an alliance and gathered together to discuss the follow-up. Hongye Town has wizards sitting in it and powerful military forces, which is as solid as a rock. Without the support of the wizards of the Lawrence family, ordinary people who rely on these knights of the Noble Alliance alone can't do anything. Just when many nobles were having a headache, a charming noble woman stood up and said in a sweet voice, "Listen to me, I have a way to deal with Hongye Town." Hearing the woman's sweet voice, many nobles trembled in their hearts and asked, "What method?" The charming woman grinned, a purple flashed in her eyes, and her red lips slightly opened, saying, "Listen to me and tell you in detail." In Hongye Castle, Andre received a greeting letter from Grand Duke Tulip, with a smile on his face. In the letter, Grand Duke Tulip stated the attitude of the principality, always standing on the side of Hongye Town and fully supporting it. Today's capital is also learning from the development experience of Hongye Town and starting a new round of social transformation. The two sides are no longer enemies, but like-minded comrades on the same road. In the letter, Grand Duke Tulip also mentioned that this group of noble families in the principality who are unwilling to accept new things and new ideas may be secretly planning some conspiracies and tricks recently, reminding Baron Andre to be careful. While the booming Hongye Town was enjoying the benefits of development, some disasters seemed to have come to its door. Lu Feng didn't care much about the development of Hongye Town. He would first ask Andre, Matthew, and Anne. Only when they couldn't handle it would they fall on his head. However, Lu Feng, who was oblivious to the outside world, was also stumped by another problem. A month had passed since the last study of the spiritual realm part of the Kingmu Changsheng Sutra. Lu Feng had studied the Kingmu spiritual realm construction method that came with the Kingmu Changsheng Sutra, but when he started to build the prototype of the spiritual realm, he encountered difficulties. Lu Feng stood in front of the experimental table, and the seeds of the energy-absorbing ancient tree took root in the ghost tree debris. For a month, the seeds of the energy-absorbing ancient tree continued to absorb the wood energy in the ghost tree debris, and the 5 roots became thicker and stronger. It may be that the seeds that have just taken root are weak and the speed of absorbing wood energy is not fast, but with the accumulation of time, there are still considerable gains. But Lu Feng encountered problems when constructing the Kingmu spiritual realm. The Kingmu Changsheng Sutra records the method of constructing the Kingmu spirit realm. It is to use a spiritual plant as the foundation of the spiritual realm, and slowly refine the space encompassed by the branches, leaves and roots of the spiritual plant into a spiritual realm. According to the method in the Kingmu Changsheng Sutra, Lu Feng tried to refine the Kingmu spirit realm. When he touched the seed with his right hand, it seemed as if a stream of light entered his hand, and the emerald green light around the seed was bright. Lu Feng closed his eyes and sank his mind into the seed of the energy-absorbing ancient tree. Under his control, a stream of magic power condensed into emerald green talismans and imprinted them inside the seed. To build the Kingmu spirit realm, Lu Feng needs to construct 108 talismans in the spiritual plant of his birth, forming a perfect spiritual realm restriction, which corresponds to the longevity acupoint diagram in the technique. Refining the spiritual realm does not need to be done all at once. It can be cultivated slowly in steps. Lu Feng's Kingmu Changsheng Sutra has now opened up 81 acupoints. The longevity acupoint diagram is not yet complete, But there is no problem in slowly cultivating the Kingmu spirit realm around the spiritual plant. According to the 81 acupoints that were opened, Lu Feng controlled his magic power to imprint the corresponding 81 talismans into the seed of the energy-absorbing ancient tree. It took more than 10 days to complete the imprinting of the 81 talismans. The seed of the energy-absorbing ancient tree has been shrouded by a circle of emerald green light. Emitting from the top of the seed, it encompassed the ghost tree fragments that were rooted in, forming a small closed emerald green sphere. This small emerald green sphere is the prototype of the Kingmu spirit realm that Lu Feng refined according to the Kingmu Changsheng Sutra. However, the newly born Kingmu spirit realm is too small. Limited by the size of the seed and the length of the roots, the newly born Kingmu spirit realm prototype is pitifully small, just a sphere with a radius of 10 centimeters. The emerald green prototype of the spirit realm looks petite and lovely in front of the half-human length ghost tree fragments. Lu Feng tried to activate the spirit realm, but there were extra ghost tree fragments hanging down, which hindered his control and increased the difficulty of control. However, although the Kingmu spirit realm prototype was only newly formed, under Lu Feng's control, it could still drag the ghost tree fragments weighing 300 or 400 kilograms and move freely in the air. With the hardness of the ghost tree fragments, it can also be used as a weapon to hit people with considerable power. After trying the ability of the Kingmu spirit realm, Lu Feng was delighted and said to himself, "It's a little insufficient. The size of the spirit realm is too small, but the power of this spirit realm is really good. What I need to do in the future is to accumulate mana as soon as possible, open up all 108 acupoints, and first complete the prohibition of the Kingmu spirit realm prototype." Realizing the benefits of the Kingmu spirit realm prototype, Lu Feng planned the future in his mind. With a plan in mind, Lu Feng began to practice with peace of mind. With the Kingmu spirit realm, when collecting plant spirit energy in the woods of the manor to practice, Lu Feng discovered more benefits of the Kingmu spirit realm prototype. The small Kingmu spirit realm was not slower than Lu Feng in collecting plant spirit energy. The plant spirit energy transformed by the Kingmu spirit realm was softer and very easy to refine into mana. After cultivating the spiritual realm, Lu Feng had an extra cultivation aid, which greatly increased his cultivation speed. The 81 talismans in the energy-absorbing ancient tree seeds were projected into the acupoints of his body, stabilizing and strengthening the acupoints. Lu Feng's body also underwent some changes. The flesh and blood body was more full of vitality, and the mana flowing in the meridians and acupoints was more powerful, and the spells he cast were more powerful. With the spiritual realm, Lu Feng's strength was improved in all aspects. Now, Lu Feng is confident that he can beat Monk Hujing with only the Kingmu Changsheng Sutra and the Kingmu spiritual realm. But if he wants to defeat Mr. Chu, he needs to use the power of the wizard apprentice. While lamenting the power of the Kingmu spiritual realm, Lu Feng was worried about how to deal with the ghost tree fragments that were holding him back. After building the prototype of the Kingmu spiritual realm, the speed at which the seeds of the energy-absorbing ancient tree absorbed the wood energy of the ghost tree fragments increased a lot. But to completely absorb the entire ghost tree fragment, at the current speed, Lu Feng estimated that it would take at least 3 years. Although the seeds of the energy-absorbing ancient tree can also absorb the power of death in the ghost tree fragments and are not picky about food, the speed of absorbing and digesting the power of death is slower than that of the delicious wood energy. How to deal with the ghost tree fragments has become a problem that Lu Feng needs to solve next. Second update. I also recommend a friend's new book. The title is, Longevity Begins with Marrying Xia Long. New introduction. Yiling woke up from a dream and found himself in a high-level martial arts world. Here, all the martial arts celebrities and extraordinary women he knew in his previous life are in this world. After Yiling woke up, he learned that he was about to get married, and his fiancée turned out to be Xia Long from the Tomb of the Living Dead. On the night of the wedding, his system for marrying a wife was also turned on. Chapter 54 Zuan Soul Captivating Knife, Complete Ban. The ghost tree fragments were hard, and Lu Feng was unable to split them. Compared to the small Kingmu spirit realm, the ghost tree fragments that were half a person's length and could not be held by one person were too huge. Lu Feng could have taken a Kingmu spirit realm into his body and placed it in his danshan to nourish it with his mana. But under the burden of the ghost tree fragments, this idea was impossible to realize. The huge ghost tree fragments were not magic weapons, nor were they the life-saving spiritual plants that Lu Feng cultivated with his life. No matter how hard he tried, he could not stuff the ghost tree fragments into his body. When he went out, Lu Feng could only wrap the ghost tree fragments with special black cloth to isolate the ghost tree fragments' instinct to absorb spiritual power, and carry them on his back. That look was very much like Yuan Kandi carrying a coffin board everywhere. The weight of 300 or 400 kilograms was secondary. With the support of the Kingmu spirit realm, it was not tiring to carry it, but it was a bit unique and eye-catching. In Lu Feng's opinion, the best way to deal with the ghost tree fragments was to practice them all into the Kingmu spirit realm. However, the Kingmu spirit realm recorded in the Kingmu Changsheng Sutra is a single wood-attributed spiritual realm. The wood energy in the ghost tree fragments is rich and high quality, and the benefits of practicing in the spiritual realm are not small. In this way, the remaining high-quality death power in the ghost tree fragments may only be used as seasoning snacks for the energy-absorbing ancient tree, which is really a waste. To be honest, Lu Feng really couldn't bear to waste such a good thing. He also tried to use his own skills to deal with the ghost tree fragments. Lu Feng majored in botany and pharmacy in the botanical garden, with a little bit of enchantment technology, and was unable to separate the death power in the ghost tree fragments and make it into a wizard's secret treasure. He also asked the wizard Mei Tiayu, who is now working in Hongye Castle. Mei Tiayu specializes in the transformation of the undead and does not know the technology to make secret treasures. In the territory of Hongye Town, there are only 2 wizards, and for a while, Lu Feng couldn't find a way to refine the ghost tree fragments into a wizard's secret treasure. As for the spells and refining methods in Monk Hujing's memory, Lu Feng also tried them. The Buddhist spells are masculine and hot, which conflict with the death power attribute in the ghost tree fragments, so they should not be used. Lu Feng tried other spells and weapon refining methods one by one. Lu Feng tried the Taiyin body washing method. Lu Feng used the Taiyin moonlight to cleanse the ghost tree fragments. The Taiyin moonlight collected by consuming spiritual power fell on the ghost tree fragments and was directly absorbed by the fragments. The Taiyin body washing method failed to deal with the ghost tree fragments, but nourished the ghost tree fragments. It was like hitting a dog with a meat bun, which was a one-way trip. Among the other spells, only the Zuanine soul-snatching knife had some affinity with the ghost tree fragments. Lu Feng tried to use a ghost to refine the ghost tree fragments. It might be that the Zuanine soul-snatching knife's weapon refining formula was too poor. Lu Feng wasted a lot of time and only practiced the ghost tree fragment shrouded in the Kingmu spirit realm. After the ritual, the ghosts lingered in the dark ghost tree fragments beside the roots of the energy-absorbing ancient tree seeds, curled up like a baby in the mother's womb, embracing a breath of dark sword energy. The sword energy was awe-inspiring, condensed by the purest death power in the ghost tree fragments, and the surface was filled with a breathtaking force. After practicing a breath of Zuanine soul-sucking sword energy, Lu Feng came to the magic experiment field in Kane Manor. In the open field, many hard black rocks were placed in a regular pattern. Staring at a black rock target 100 meters away, Lu Feng tapped the ghost tree fragment behind him. With a humming sound, a dark light shot out from behind Lu Feng. In an instant, in just a blink of an eye, the black rock target 100 meters away was in Lu Feng's eyes, and a fine knife mark was cut by the Zuanine soul-sucking knife. Lu Feng walked in and saw that the knife mark was 1 finger wide, thin paper, penetrating the black rock, and the cut surface was as smooth as a mirror. There was still some power left after penetrating the black rock, and it went several meters underground before the remaining power dissipated. Such a strong penetration effect, I feel that even if I put on the life-saving plate armor, I can't resist this sword energy. This penetration effect alone is comparable to my strongest combination spell, the Seed of Life. Lu Feng was surprised at the power of the Zuanine soul-snatching knife, and at the same time, he felt a strong death force from the knife marks, which did not dissipate for a long time. If this knife hits a living person, even if he is not killed, the remaining pure death force can also torture the person who is hit by the knife to death. In the memory of Monk Hujing, it is said that this method of training the weapon is only a trivial technique and does not have such power. Now this power is probably due to the ghost tree fragments. Lu Feng sensed the ghost in the shape of a baby in the Kingmu spirit realm, and immediately understood the reason for the power of the Zuanine soul-snatching knife. The ghost absorbed the death power in the surrounding ghost tree fragments, and the sword energy was slowly condensing in his arms. Lu Feng knew that each of these Zuanine soul-snatching knife key was consuming the precious death power in the ghost tree fragments. Considering the value of the ghost tree fragment, every time Lu Feng used the Zuanine soul-snatching blade key, he was throwing magic stones. Purely using magic stones to hit people, throwing money, how powerful can it be? It seems that this move can only be used as my trump card, otherwise it will waste the precious death power in the ghost tree fragment, and my heart will bleed. Lu Feng said secretly in his heart. After experimenting with the power of the Zuanine soul-snatching blade, he immediately went to Matayu to buy 8 ghosts, and all of them were trained into the ghost tree fragment in the Kingmu spirit realm. Near the wide and tender roots of the energy-absorbing ancient tree seeds, 9 ghosts, holding knives in their arms, were fierce. Carrying the ghost tree fragments, Lu Feng felt a different sense of security in his heart. With only the skills in his hands, Lu Feng could only process the ghost tree fragments to this state. The others could only wait for the growth of the energy-absorbing ancient tree seeds, and the expansion of the Kingmu spirit realm. After staying in Kane Manor for another month to practice, Lu Feng, with the help of the Kingmu spirit realm, opened up all 108 acupoints of the Kingmu Changsheng Sutra. Lu Feng's eyes flickered as he reached out to touch the fragments of the ghost tree. He sensed the changes in the Kingmu spirit realm. 108 talismans were imprinted in the seeds of the energy-absorbing ancient tree, forming a complete spiritual realm restriction. But this spiritual realm restriction was only in its infancy, just a small, dim light ring surrounding the seeds of the energy-absorbing ancient tree. It was as fragile as a bubble and would break at the touch. Although I have already refined the Kingmu spirit realm, the fire is a little short, and it is only a prototype. Compared with Mr. Chu's Yin Ghost spirit realm, it is still a long way behind. I still need to work hard. When the spiritual realm restriction in the seeds of the energy-absorbing ancient tree is refined to perfection by Lu Feng, it will be time for the Kingmu spirit realm to get rid of its prototype. The rest is just a matter of time. Lu Feng continues to use his magic power to refine the spiritual realm restriction, and the seeds of the energy-absorbing ancient tree continue to absorb wood energy to grow. Lu Feng estimated that when the seeds of the energy-absorbing ancient tree sprout new buds, it should be time for the Kingmu spirit realm to take shape. By then, Lu Feng will be able to break through the realm of Taoist children and become a Taoist priest in the world of earthly immortals, which is equivalent to a formal wizard in the world of wizards. First update. Recommend a book by a friend. The data of the new book is good, it is worth reading. Jingchuan traveled through the world of immortal cultivation and worshipped in a famous mountain for many years, but failed to build a foundation twice, and there was little hope for this life. The sect sent him out, and Jingchuan originally planned to go down the mountain to make a living and form a Taoist couple with his junior sister, but he did not expect to awaken the Taoist couple system. The Taoist partner Wei 1Q in the key refining period has been bound, and you have gained plus 100 experience in the way of alchemy. Your Taoist partner Wei 1Q has made great progress in the understanding of the way of alchemy, and you have gained 30 years of cultivation. Warm reminder to you, pay attention to the relationship between Taoist partners. A kind relationship between Taoist partners helps family unity. If the Taoist partners are not harmonious, the cultivator will shed tears. When Jingchuan saw the small gilded words in front of him, he realized that his previous decisions were all wrong, and the real way to immortality was such a broad road. Since then, the world of immortal cultivation has gained another immortal cultivator who has experienced all the worldly things and is leaning on the railing listening to music. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55, Rays of Light rise into the sky and rare treasures are born. The spiritual realm restriction was complete, and the Kingmu spiritual realm also expanded a little. The space covered by the emerald green light expanded from the original radius of 10 centimeters to a radius of 20 centimeters. It was still small and pitiful in front of the ghost tree fragments. Alice, it's still too small. Looking at the spiritual realm, Lu Feng said with a smile. Although he complained, he had no resentment in his heart. In the way of earthly immortals, the spiritual realm, a good thing that can seize the fortune of heaven and earth, is not so easy to build. Compared with Mr. Chu in the world of earthly immortals, Lu Feng thought that his cultivation speed could definitely beat Mr. Chu by more than 10 streets. The sweat and hard work he paid were much less than Mr. Chu. Mr. Chu in the world of earthly immortals, for nearly 100 ghosts, made the whole Dongxi city angry and resentful, and many families were broken up. Compared with Mr. Chu's miserable life, Lu Feng's road to earthly immortals has been smooth sailing. It can be said that it is smoother than his road to becoming a wizard. By now, the prototype of King Mu's spirit realm has been built, and the road to promotion is not far away. Compared with the decades he wasted as a third-class apprentice, I don't know where happiness has gone. While Lu Feng sighed, he thought of Mr. Chu in the earthly immortal world. Since he captured the residual soul of monk Hongye and returned to the wizard world last time, he has not been to the earthly immortal world for 3 months. I don't know what changes have taken place there now. If I can get Mr. Chu's method of refining the yin ghost spirit realm, I can use the ghost tree fragments as the foundation to refine a yin ghost spirit realm. Maybe it is the best way to deal with the ghost tree fragments. And in monk Hongye's memory, the Shinto spirit realm that his master taught him is about to open. Maybe I should go to the earthly immortal world. With this thought in mind, Lu Feng could no longer stay at home. In the wizard world, Hongye town is developing in full swing, and there is no place that needs him for the time being. In Kane Manor, most of the black rock building materials have arrived. At this time, Annie and Houston were directing a group of newly recruited young men to practice the night breathing method while digging the foundation for the wizard tower. It seemed that it would take more than half a month to dig the foundation. Lu Feng didn't have any other work to do. When he was free, Lu Feng said hello to Annie, closed the underground laboratory, and stepped into the space gate with a ghost tree fragment on his back. Silently, Lu Feng disappeared. It was late autumn in the earthly immortal world. The mountains and wilderness between Dongxi City and Chuan City were a desolate scene with bleak autumn wind. But on the road between the two cities, today, there are many fully armed people with fierce faces, who go into the wilderness and mountains in autumn in groups. After crossing over and just getting out of the cave, Lu Feng ran into a group of people head-on after walking a few steps. There were 26 people in this group, all of them were armed. The leader was a middle-aged man in his 30s, with a square face and a strong body. He was wearing leather armor and carrying a white-shafted red-tasseled spear. There was a gentle internal force on his body, and Lu Feng could tell at a glance that this middle-aged man was a warrior. How can we meet people in this desolate mountain? And so many. Before leaving, Lu Feng checked the nearby deep mountains and old forests with no trace of people. He didn't expect to meet so many people in the desolate mountains and old forests after a few months. Are they playing? Hunting? Or did something big happen in this deep mountain and old forest? Lu Feng, who wanted to find out, bumped into this group of people. Hello, sir. I am Zhang Shan from Zhang's martial arts school in Chuan City. I don't know if you are blocking my way. Before Lu Feng could speak, the middle-aged man Zhang Shan politely clasped his fists and asked. At this moment, Zhang Shan was also a little panicked. The young man in front of him who could walk alone in the wilderness was not someone he could easily mess with. The young man in white had a heavy aura and was unfathomable. When they started fighting, Zhang Shan felt that even if he brought his apprentice with him, he would not be sure of winning. Zhang Shan did not dare to mess with such a person, so he could only carefully and politely ask about his purpose. Hearing this, Lu Feng glanced at the sensible Zhang Shan and said directly, I came to this deep mountain forest to play hunting, but I accidentally lost the map and couldn't find the way back. I just happened to meet you. I don't know what you are going to do in the mountains. I wonder if it is convenient for you to take me out. Hearing this, Zhang Shan directly ignored Lu Feng's lame excuse and explained the purpose of their entry into the mountains. Young master, a big thing happened in this forest recently. More than 10 days ago, a colorful glow suddenly burst out in the forest, as if a treasure of the immortals had appeared. Many people in the nearby cities saw the glow. It attracted many people to explore the mountain and look for treasures. But after so many days, there is still no news of anyone finding the treasure. Therefore, with the intention of giving it a try, I brought the disciples of the martial arts school to this mountain to try their luck. Although he was somewhat puzzled by the young master's question, Zhang Shan still honestly explained their purpose and emphasized the reason because of Lu Feng's strength. Colorful glow, a treasure of the immortals has appeared. Lu Feng pondered, vaguely feeling that this colorful glow had some overlap with the Shinto spiritual realm that monk Hongye had taught his disciples. Could it be that the Shinto spiritual realm has appeared? Interesting. Lu Feng smiled slightly, and suddenly a gust of wind blew past, blinding Zhang Shan and others so much that they couldn't open their eyes, and subconsciously covered their eyes. When the wind passed, they looked ahead again, and Lu Feng's figure had disappeared without a trace. A great transformation, a young man in white. In an instant, Zhang Shan and others' faces changed suddenly, And a thin disciple behind him trembled and said tremblingly, "Master, did we encounter a dirty thing?" After these words came out, the forest was silent for a moment. Zhang Shan heard it and slapped the thin disciple without hesitation, cursing, "Fuck, the young man just now is obviously a master, maybe an immortal. If anyone dares to talk nonsense and is heard by the immortal, you will lose your life." After cursing a few times, Zhang Shan's anger disappeared. "That's master, are we going to move forward? Are we still going to look for treasures?" After being scolded by the master, the thin disciple asked again. "Treasures, treasures, shit. Such masters are attracted into the mountains by treasures. Use your brains to think about whether we can beat such masters or whether we have bad luck. We have nothing. Let's go back quickly." After teaching his apprentice a lesson, Zhang Shan did not miss the treasures in the forest at all. He took the apprentices from the martial arts hall and went down the mountain without hesitation. Lu Feng, who left, naturally did not know what happened behind him. He wandered through the forest according to the approximate location provided by Zhang Shan, and explored the place where the morning glow appeared. Second update. I will sleep after writing. Recommend a friend's new book. The data is good, you can read it. Jingchuan traveled through the world of immortal cultivation and worshipped in a famous mountain for many years, but failed to build a foundation twice, and there was little hope in this life. The sect sent Jingchuan out, and he originally planned to go down the mountain to make a living, and formed a Taoist couple with his junior sister, but he did not expect to awaken the Taoist couple system. You have bound your Taoist partner Wei 1Q in the key refining stage, and gain plus 100 experience in alchemy. Your Taoist partner Wei 1Q has made great progress in understanding the alchemy, and you have gained 30 years of cultivation. Warm reminder, pay attention to the relationship between Taoist partners. A good relationship between Taoist partners helps family unity. A Taoist partner's disharmony will bring tears to the cultivator's eyes. When Jingchuan saw the small gilded words in front of him, he realized that his previous decisions were all wrong, and the true path to immortality was such a broad road. Since then, the world of immortal cultivation has gained a cultivator who has experienced the world and listened to music while leaning on the railing. Chapter 56, Shinto Spirit Realm. Dragon crossing the river? Knowing that the wilderness was not safe, Lu Feng immediately returned to the underground laboratory, put on his life-saving plate armor and returned again. After wandering around the wilderness, Lu Feng saw more teams. From the words they used in their conversation, Lu Feng heard that these people came from the nearby Dongxi City and Chuan City. Most of them had practiced martial arts, and there were also a few Taoist children with obscure auras, who seemed to have magic power in their bodies and could cast spells. The purpose of these people was very clear, and they all came for the glow in the mountains. Lu Feng carefully hid beside these people and did not show up. With them leading the way, Lu Feng saved a lot of effort in searching. Not long after, the figures in the wilderness gradually increased, and the mountains and forests were filled with a bit of murderous atmosphere. The insects, birds and beasts were startled by this aura and hid their bodies one after another. Instantly, the mountains and forests were silent, with only the friction of clothes and the collision of weapons when people walked. They looked at each other, feared each other, held weapons in their hands, and were ready for battle. At the same time, Lu Feng, who was following behind the crowd, also keenly felt the abnormality around him. It seemed that because of the birth of the treasure, the concentration of spiritual energy in the surrounding mountains and forests seemed to have increased, and the vitality of flowers, plants and trees was also more active. It seems that the impact of the birth of this treasure is still quite large. Lu Feng said secretly, and at the same time he had some expectations. What kind of thing was born? Is this the place where the Shinto spiritual realm that Monk Hujing's master said is about to be born? While Lu Feng was thinking, he followed the crowd over a small hill and soon saw the true face of the long-awaited treasure. At the foot of the hill, a gentle white light stood on a huge rock exposed on the riverbed. The white light was pointed at both ends and slightly wider in the middle, like a tear in a piece of cloth. A stream of spiritual energy escaped from the white light, nourishing the nearby heaven and earth. The abnormality that Lu Feng felt came from this. What surprised Lu Feng was that at this moment, the white light was surrounded by people. The two forces were clearly divided into two groups, gathering harmoniously under the white light, and the fighting scene that Lu Feng had expected did not happen. The two forces seemed to have reached some agreement and were peacefully guarding the white light. Lu Feng also saw that some people took advantage of the abundant spiritual energy of heaven and earth to practice martial arts, strengthen their bodies, and practice magic in the open space. A team in front of Lu Feng walked down a hillside, and immediately two people stepped forward to warn, "Which city are you from?" "Dongxi City is on the left, and Chuan City is on the right. Find an open space by yourself, and don't let any conflict occur." "Samgang, Master Chiu of Dongxi City, the two parties have united?" "Got it." The middle-aged man in the team asked a little and understood the rules of this place. He went to the left with peace of mind and took his men to find an open space to stay. It was Lu Feng's turn. He was wearing armor and carrying a large shield, which really attracted some attention, but the gatekeeper was not surprised. After informing him of the rules of this place, he let Lu Feng in. Passing the guards, Lu Feng glanced at Dongxi City and Chuan City. They all looked unfamiliar. Lu Feng had never been to the two cities, so naturally he didn't know anyone. Just when he wanted to find an open space to stay and observe the surroundings, he saw two men wrapped up tightly. No, it was a woman wearing men's clothes who was winking at him. Somewhat familiar, it seems to be Miss Luo and her broken-armed subordinate. Lu Feng remembered the two people he was about to forget. After hesitating for a while, he walked to their side. "Benefactor, senior. Are you here for this Shinto spirit realm as well?" Seeing Lu Feng coming to her side, Luo Zuking was overjoyed and greeted him hurriedly. Lu Feng nodded when he heard the words, and his heart moved. He pretended not to know and asked, "Shinto spirit realm? What is that?" In the memory of the remnant soul of monk Hujing, this part about the Shinto spirit realm was lost with the self-destruction of the main practice. Lu Feng searched for a long time but did not find relevant information. There was no relevant record in the Jade Slip of King Mu Changsheng Sutra. Lu Feng also had some guesses, and it would be better if Luo Zuking could complete them for him. The so-called Shinto spiritual realm is the spiritual realm constructed by the gods. Luo Zuking explained, it is said that in the dynasties before the Great Zhuan dynasty, people and gods lived together on the earth. Mortals worshipped gods, and gods protected mortals. Powerful gods can use their powerful divine power to open up a small world in the void where crops can be grown, animals can be raised, and mortals can live. Such a small world is called the Shinto spiritual realm. But later, with the establishment of the Great Zhuan dynasty, the gods seemed to disappear from the world all of a sudden. Only the Shinto spiritual realm that occasionally emerged from the Great Zhuan territory showed people the former power and glory of the gods. It is said that the earthly immortal method that is practiced now is also the inspiration that the ancestor of the earthly immortal got from the Shinto spiritual realm, combined with the immortal way to create it. The current Shinto spiritual realm has not yet been fully opened. When the white divine light completely turns into a portal, it will be the time for the Shinto spiritual realm to open. It is said that there are countless precious natural treasures and magic tools in the Shinto spiritual realm. If you get one, you can have no worries about food and clothing for the rest of your life. All the people gathered here come with this idea. I see. Lu Feng nodded. He asked Luo Zuking some more questions and learned what happened after he left the mountain temple that night. What? Mr. Chu's men came with a magic weapon, the white bone soul-catching flag, but she attacked and snatched the magic weapon, and wiped out the enemy. Then she took Sang Xiaoli away from Dongxi City and fled all the way to Chuan City. The two supported each other in Chuan City and worked hard for 2 months, becoming the small leader of the Sangang. Recently, the Shinto spirit realm in the mountains appeared, and many leaders of the Sangang seized this place and joined forces with Mr. Chu to maintain order here. Fortunately, the Shinto spirit realm has not been opened yet, otherwise Mr. Chu would come, and the two might be in trouble. When Luo Zuking was preparing to find a way to escape from the dangerous place, she happened to meet Lu Feng in armor. It's really fate. Lu Feng sighed. With Luo Zuking, the local snake, the small leader of the Sangang, Lu Feng saved some trouble. Lu Feng showed the strength of a top-grade Taoist boy, and won the respect of some Sangang leaders under Luo Zuking's introduction. He also got a newly built stone house here to rest. A few days later, the 3 gang leaders of the San list were shocked to hear about Lu Feng's strength. When did a top-grade Taoist boy appear in their small place? Upon learning about this, the 3 gang leaders came together to visit Lu Feng. To test the waters and see if Lu Feng was a dragon crossing the river or a loach waiting in the water. At the important moment when the divine spirit realm was born, the 3 gang leaders did not want to affect their gains in the divine spirit realm because of an outsider. First update. Chapter 57. The three gang leaders had a great conversation. Autumn day, early morning. The sun is rising, next to the Shinto spiritual realm, in front of a temporary stone house. Lu Feng is at the door of the stone house, breathing in the green wood energy from the east, melting the power of the green wood Changsheng Sutra. Luo Zuking and Sang Xiaowei stand aside, rubbing the green wood energy collected by Lu Feng, and practicing the green wood Changsheng Sutra together. Lu Feng has a high level of cultivation, and the green wood energy he collected is abundant and pure. The little green wood energy he missed can increase the speed of their practice of the green wood Changsheng Sutra. Suddenly, Lu Feng and the other two stopped practicing, and their eyes all looked forward. The three gang leaders of the San Gang came together. Just by taking a look, Lu Feng remembered the appearance of the three gang leaders. Without him, the appearance of these three gang leaders is very distinctive. One fat, one thin, and one short. The four of them looked at each other. Among the three gang leaders, the fat, middle-aged man with a rich face walked forward enthusiastically and clasped his fists to Lu Feng and said, "I am Wang Wu, the leader of the San Gang. I am honored to meet you, fellow Taoist. This is the second leader Su Si and the third leader Qi San." After greeting, Wang Wu introduced the two gang leaders behind him to Lu Feng. The thin one was called Su Si, and the short one was called Qi San. Although they did not speak, they also clasped their fists to Lu Feng politely. Lu Feng also clasped his fists and said, "I am Luo Feng, and I am honored to meet you, the three gang leaders. I accidentally heard that a spirit was born here, so I came here. If I disturb you, please forgive me." Lu Feng casually gave himself a name, made up a reason, and introduced himself. "When you are out, of course, there is no reason to use your real name. So my benefactor is called Luo Feng, and he is from my family." Luo Zuking's eyes lit up when she heard this, and she secretly remembered Lu Feng's name in her heart. Hearing this, the wealthy Wang Wu narrowed his eyes into a slit, smiled and said in a friendly way, "Luo Feng, Luo Zuking, it turns out that you are the relative of Zuking's niece. In my San Gang, my niece Zuking is a well-known female hero. At a young age, she is more powerful than many old predecessors." Luo Zuking, the little leader of the San Gang, was given a position by Wang Wu himself. He still had some impression of her. Thinking back to Luo Zuking's experience in the gang, she didn't feel wronged. Wang Wu immediately took advantage of Luo Zuking's relationship and chatted with Lu Feng. Hearing Wang Wu's misunderstanding, Lu Feng did not argue and took over the identity of Luo Zuking's relative. Anyway, as long as Luo Zuking didn't talk nonsense, no one could question his identity. Other Luo family members who knew about it had already suffered disaster and entered the ground. The cultivation method in the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra only reached the Qingmu Lingjing. There was no subsequent realm and subsequent Qingmu Lingjing cultivation. It was like a chapter was artificially interrupted, which made Lu Feng very uncomfortable. By accepting the identity of the Luo family, Lu Feng also became a local of the earthly immortal world, which made it easier for him to plan the subsequent exercises of the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra in the future. Wang Wu of the San Gang lived up to his wealthy appearance and was indeed a man who could talk. He quickly became familiar with Lu Feng, and they were just about to call each other brothers and swear to be brothers. After chatting for a long time, Su Si, the second in command of the San Gang, coughed slightly, interrupting Wang Wu who was chatting happily, and gave him a look to remind him not to forget the business. At Su Si's reminder, Wang Wu smiled awkwardly and said, "The purpose of this visit, Brother Luo, please forgive me. The three of us brothers came here mainly to confirm the attitude of the brothers. After all, it is a special time for the birth of the spirit realm of the gods. We and the Jiu master of Dongshi City are about to start competing. Brother, you." Wang Wu didn't finish his words, but Lu Feng understood the meaning of his words. The main reason was that he, a high-grade Taoist boy, came here too suddenly, affecting the safety and interests of the local gangs. If Lu Feng interfered in the process of the San Gang and young Master Chu competing for the divine spirit realm, with his strength, the San Gang would certainly have a hard time. Lu Feng heard this, but he was not angry. He put himself in their shoes and thought that the worries of the three gang leaders of the San Gang were indeed there. However, Lu Feng had already thought of a countermeasure, and said angrily, "Please rest assured, three brothers, I have a blood feud with young Master Chu of Dongshi City. My niece Zuking's family was destroyed by young Master Chu, so they fled to Chuan City." Hearing Lu Feng talking about this, Luo Zuking also had a gnashing expression, wishing to eat young Master Chu alive. The three gang leaders of the Sand Gang were stunned when they heard Lu Feng's words. They naturally knew that young Master Chu of Dongxi City had refined the 100 beauty paintings in Jimmy, but the people who died were ordinary people who had nothing to do with them, and the three gang leaders had never thought about it. But today, they met a mortal enemy because of refining the 100 beauties picture. The three of them sighed that Mr. Chu was really careless. He didn't do such a thing cleanly. He didn't do it thoroughly when he was in the underworld. When they secretly reminded themselves to do things more efficiently in the future, they also showed an indignant look and empathized with Mr. Chu's many evil deeds. Lu Feng acted skillfully with them. They were all a group of old foxes, so why pretend to be simple? However, with this excuse, the three gang leaders were also relieved. This hatred of exterminating the family was exposed. Luo Feng had already cut off the opportunity to cooperate with Mr. Chu. Even if Mr. Chu didn't know, the three gang leaders would let Mr. Chu know. After the conversation, Wang Wu tentatively shook hands with Lu Feng. A burning fire surged out of Wang Wu's fat big hand, which was blocked by Lu Feng's gentle Qingmu Changsheng Sutra magic power at the handshake. Wang Wu's anger was blazing, while Lu Feng's Qingmu Changsheng Sutra was gentle and continuous. Fire overcomes wood, and Wang Wu's magic power was inherently superior, but he still couldn't get any good results in front of Lu Feng. After a while of fighting, Wang Wu begged for mercy with sweat all over his forehead. Brother Luo is amazingly powerful, and I, Wang Wu, will admit defeat. Wang Wu withdrew his hand, said a few more words, and then pulled the two gang leaders away. After leaving the stone house, Wang Wu's face suddenly changed, and he turned pale. He hurriedly shouted to the two brothers, "Help me quickly, help me get rid of this weird wood magic power." Wang Wu stretched out his hand, and Su Si and Qi San immediately saw that in Wang Wu's chubby palm, tiny seeds were rapidly taking root and sprouting, piercing into Wang Wu's palm flesh and blood, absorbing the essence of flesh and blood and growing rapidly. Seeing this weird scene, Su Si and Qi San's faces suddenly changed, and they hurriedly helped together. With the help of the two, it took a quarter of an hour for the three of them to work together and finally remove the remaining Qingmu Changsheng Sutra magic power in Wang Wu's palm. Ah! This Luo Feng is really cruel. A magic power is so insidious. His strength should not be underestimated. I'm afraid he has already started to build a spiritual realm. Wang Wu's chubby palm was now in a mess, bloody and blurred. He looked at his two brothers and said gloomily. Second update. Traveling through the world of science, Beichuanyu got the punch-in check-in system at the beginning. He thought he was about to reach the peak of his life. But the magical props rewarded by the system have not arrived yet. Xiaolin picked up the prop, synesthesia stone, and had a wonderful sensory connection with the ragdoll cat of Beichuanyu's family. Beichuanyu stroked the cat and Xiaolin felt the same. Fei Yingli picked up peaceful halo, and was forgotten by the whole world. Only Beichuanyu still remembered her. Wrapped in endless loneliness, what choice will she make? Muako Sato picked up the exchange life sticker and by chance she swapped bodies with Sumiko Kobayashi. Facing Shirakawa, who claimed to be Sumiko Kobayashi's boyfriend, what should she do? As time went by, Shirakawa gradually discovered that this world of science was very wrong. Chapter 58 Integrate into the world of earthly immortals and plan the skills. After some probing, Wang Wu had some small thoughts. The Sand Gang had been entrenched in Chuan City for many years. If they hadn't been good at it, they would have been overthrown long ago. Luo Feng's strength is probably not inferior to that of the Chu Master of Dongxi City. He should have already stepped into the path of the sacrificial spirit realm. He must have come here to plan for the opportunity in the divine spirit realm. Wang Wu said with a gloomy face. Su Si and Qi San nodded, agreeing with their eldest brother's statement. The three brothers looked at each other and said confidently, although I am not Luo Feng's opponent alone, if the three of us brothers work together, it's hard to say who will win. The three leaders of the Sand Gang left, and Lu Feng stood in front of the stone house and rubbed his hands, recalling the handshake just now. The leader of the Sand Gang, Wang Wu, still had something. His hands were burning with magic power, with a bit of the breath of the sun's fire, masculine and hot. When Lu Feng resisted, he also used some of the blessing of the Qingmu spirit realm to gain a steady advantage, and then used the seed of life to trick Wang Wu, as a lesson for Wang Wu. Wang Wu was friendly on the surface, but when he tried to shake hands with Lu Feng, he was not polite at all. If Lu Feng was not strong, he would have been injected with Wang Wu's burning magic power, which would burn his skin and flesh at the least, and burn his meridians and damage his strength at the worst. It was the strength shown by Lu Feng that made them afraid, and at the critical moment when the Shinto spirit realm was born, the Samgang was unwilling to make a big move. Otherwise, the leader of the Samgang came to the door this time, and after the test, he might be ready to take action. This world is really naked, and the immortal cultivation is like a group of black wizards. Lu Feng snorted coldly and returned to the stone house. Looking at Luo Zuking, Lu Feng asked, "You have been in the Samgang for some time. How much do you know about the 3 gang leaders who just came?" 3 gang leaders. Luo Zuking thought about it seriously and replied, "The Samgang was established a long time ago, at least several decades ago. I heard that the gang leaders of the Samgang have never changed. They are all the current 3. I usually hear high-level leaders chatting and saying that the 3 gang leaders have the cultivation of top-grade Taoist children and are proficient in the art of combined attack. The 3 of them once worked together to repel Mr. Chiu from Duangxi City. This is also the reason why the 2 cities are not far away and have always been able to live in peace. Art of combined attack." Lu Feng heard it and lowered his head in thought. He had also heard of the art of combined attack when he was studying in the botanical garden. The wizard world also has a secret art of joint casting, which can allow multiple wizards to resonate their magic power and jointly cast more powerful spells. However, such joint spellcasting secrets often have more stringent conditions, either with the help of wizards' secret treasures or with the help of witchcraft arrays, and it is difficult to cultivate on a large scale. I don't know what the combined attack technique in the hands of the Samgang is like. The combined attack of 3 people can repel the true master who has a spiritual realm, which must be good. Lu Feng is very interested. However, this is obviously the trump card of the 3 gang leaders of the Samgang, and it is a bit difficult to obtain. Lu Feng shook his head and didn't think about it for the time being. His eyes fell on Luo Zuking and the 2 girls who had been standing in the stone house, and asked with interest, "I borrowed your Luo family's name. I don't know what your plans are in the future. Are you willing to work under me?" After the difficulty of destroying her family and the pain of disfigurement, Luo Zuking, a lady from a noble family, quickly matured and stabilized. After a few months in the Samgang, she also had a bit more ruthlessness, which was completely different from the past. If you can trick him into working under him, it would be a good choice. Coming to the earthly immortal world again, Lu Feng's goal is very clear. With the wizard world as a backing, Lu Feng looked down on the few resources in the barren earthly immortal world. He was more interested in the earthly immortal Taoism that had developed to its peak in the earthly immortal world. Lu Feng saw it clearly. The wizard world was rich in resources, but the wizard's way of meditation required 2 high qualifications. Suffering from limited qualifications, no matter how hard he worked, his future achievements were destined to be low. And the treasures in the wizard world that could improve qualifications were simply not something he could obtain. But the earthly immortal Taoism and the earthly immortal world did not require high qualifications. Once you get started, as long as you have enough resources, you can make rapid progress. The exchange and complementarity of the 2 worlds is his biggest golden finger. With the memory of the main cultivation method in Monk Hujing's mind set up a ban, and the precedent of forced peeping must be destroyed, Lu Feng knew that the spread of the earthly immortal world's cultivation method was severely restricted. It is not easy to obtain advanced cultivation methods. Opportunities like the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra are probably not going to happen again. If you want to obtain cultivation methods stably, you must integrate into the earthly immortal world and obtain them through legitimate methods. Therefore, Lu Feng planned to first establish a local power, slowly develop it, and then seek the skills. Hearing what Lu Feng said, Luo Zuking and Sang Xiao's eyes suddenly lit up, and they immediately knelt down and kowtowed to thank him. "Thank you, Senior, I am willing." Senior Luo was able to make the 3 leaders of the Samgang treat him with courtesy, and he was very powerful, plus he had saved his life before. As soon as Lu Feng opened his mouth to recruit them, Luo Zuking and Sang Xiao were naturally overjoyed and immediately agreed. With a golden thigh, their hard days are finally over. Lu Feng saw the serious attitude of Luo Zuking and Sang Xiao, and reached out to help the 2 women up. Lu Feng did not hide anything and said directly, "Master, I have recently cultivated to the spiritual realm, and I feel that my skills are lacking and the future is uncertain, so I came here to find some skills to pass on, and want to explore the future." "I see." Luo Zuking believed what Lu Feng said, and her eyes lit up. No wonder Senior Luo looked like he didn't know anything about the world. It turned out that he had been practicing in seclusion for too long and had been away from the mundane world. Senior Luo, I came here for the inheritance of the technique. No wonder I asked you to help me with a jade slip of the technique. Luo Zuking had felt strange before, but after hearing what Lu Feng said, everything made sense. Speaking of the technique, Luo Zuking had an idea. If I could get some techniques for you, would I be able to gain Senior Luo's favor? Senior Luo has reached the spiritual realm and is already at the same level as Mr. Chu. If I get your favor, maybe one day I can kill Mr. Chu and avenge my grievances without waiting until the end of time. Luo Zuking thought about it and said, Senior Luo, I have met some fellow Taoists in the past few months when I was in Sangang. Many of them have some minor Taoist inheritances. They are limited by resources, have little Taoist practice, and have a hard time. If you are willing to spend some cultivation resources, you will definitely be able to exchange them for Taoist inheritances. Hearing this, Lu Feng's eyes lit up, and he thought to himself that this technique will come soon. He had the most cultivation resources, so Lu Feng smiled and said, yes, I still have some cultivation resources. You can find these people you mentioned and discuss the specific price. First update. Chapter 59, Rubbish Natal Spiritual Planned, Rubbish Long Banner. With what Senior Luo said, I feel relieved. I'll go and arrange this for you. After getting Lu Feng's approval, Luo Zuking felt confident and quickly responded, and was about to take Sang Xiaoli out to do the work. Wait. Don't be in a hurry. Looking at the two people in a hurry, Lu Feng stopped them and said, as the saying goes, 1,000 gold coins are enough to buy horse bones. You are lobbying on my behalf. Without sincerity, they will definitely not believe you. I will pay you a little first, let them see it, and the rest of the deal will be much easier. Lu Feng saw the cultivation of the two women at a glance. Luo Zuking and Sang Xiaoli both practiced a Qingmu Changsheng Sutra. Luo Zuking opened 4 acupoints, and Sang Xiaoli only opened 1 acupoint. Their cultivation was too weak. If they acted on his behalf, they would not be so cool and would easily affect the transaction. Hearing this, the two women were immediately happy. Senior Luo was really generous. He treated him so kindly, and they would definitely work hard for him. I see that you two are also practicing the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra, but the power of the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra you practiced is too weak. I think the spiritual plants you sacrificed are just some ordinary things. I happen to have some research on spiritual plants, and I can help you strengthen your spiritual plants. Also, if you have any hidden tricks, you can show them to me. I can give you some pointers. The spiritual plants. Lu Feng was about to study their spiritual plants, which really scared Sang Xiaoli and she hesitated a little. But Luo Zuking decisively sacrificed her spiritual plants and showed them to Lu Feng openly. At the same time, Luo Zuking also took out her trump card, a long white bone banner, from her sleeve and introduced, Senior Luo, my daughter's life spirit plant is a 300-year-old ginseng, which is a treasure that my father spent a lot of effort to find. It is a little spiritual, so it should be considered good. And this long banner is something I got by chance. It has the effect of enslaving ghosts and controlling enemies. It is quite powerful and not bad. Looking at Luo Zuking's ginseng and the long white bone banner, Lu Feng sighed and uttered 2 hurtful words, garbage. At this moment, Lu Feng more clearly recognized the resource gap between the earthly immortal world and the wizard world. The ginseng and the long white bone banner that Luo Zuking regarded as treasures were indeed worthy of being called garbage in Lu Feng's eyes. Senior Luo, this ginseng is. The word garbage stabbed Luo Zuking fiercely. Waving his hand, he interrupted Luo Zuking's words, took the ginseng she had refined into a life spirit plant, checked it, and said, although your ginseng is old, it is not very vigorous. Many roots have become wood. If it had not been tempered with a trace of spirituality after years of withering and flourishing, this ginseng would not be as good as the radish planted in my cave. Lu Feng was not talking nonsense. He was used to planting land in the botanical garden. When he returned to Hongye town, he also opened up some fields in Kane Manor to plant some vegetables and grains when he had time. Lu Feng, who was proficient in botany, cultivated crops that were vigorous and nutritious. Although they were not extraordinary plants, they were better than the crops in Hongye town before. Lu Feng also asked Annie to open a seed shop in Hongye town, specializing in selling excellent crop seeds to improve the crops planted in Hongye town. Not to mention some extraordinary plant seeds that Lu Feng brought back from the botanical garden. In comparison, The ginseng in Luo Zuking's hand was really not good enough. Listening to Senior Luo's serious analysis, Luo Zuking also realized that her life spirit plant was rubbish, and it was only limited by the world and the family's wealth. This ginseng was already the best plant that the Luo family could find. Seng Ziyi, who was standing by, looked strange after listening to Lu Feng's analysis. Luo Zuking's ginseng was so rubbish, so wouldn't the pine seedlings she had sacrificed be even worse? Lu Feng ignored the rich expressions of Luo Zuking and Seng Ziyi, took the ginseng, looked at it for a moment, and thought about how to transform it. After a moment, I got it, let's do it. Lu Feng used his magic power and poured it into the ginseng. The emerald green spiritual light lingered around the ginseng's body, penetrated into it, and found the meager spirituality in the ginseng. Under the catalysis of Lu Feng's magic power, the roots of the ginseng dried up quickly, and the green leaves on the top of the head also turned yellow and withered rapidly. Ah! It hurts. Lu Feng's rough transformation made Luo Zuking scream in pain. As the life of ginseng is connected to that of ginseng, when Lu Feng was transforming ginseng, Luo Zuking felt a pain coming from deep inside her body, which made her grit her teeth and tremble all over. Lu Feng was immersed in the operation of transforming ginseng, ignoring Luo Zuking's screams of pain. In his hand, all the essence of ginseng had gathered in the thick taproot of ginseng. With a click, the taproot also dried and shattered, revealing an emerald green round bead. The essence, vitality and spirituality of 300 ginsengs had been gathered here by Lu Feng. This was not over yet. Lu Feng made another move. The emerald green round bead in his hand, with a shattered appearance, took root and sprouted rapidly like a seed. In front of Seng Ziyi's surprised eyes, it grew into new ginseng in a few breaths. Well, after my transformation, this ginseng has been reborn and become a spiritual plant. The name of ginseng is no longer used. You can call it spiritual ginseng. Lu Feng looked at the newly born spiritual ginseng with satisfaction. This was also the result of his first transformation of extraordinary plants after integrating the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra and the botany of the wizard world. Although the method was a bit rough and the consumption was a bit high, the result was still good. At least this ginseng has evolved into a spiritual ginseng. After taking the spiritual ginseng and storing it in the danshan, Luo Zuking, who suffered from pain during the transformation, closed her eyes and fainted with a smile before she could experience the benefits of the spiritual ginseng. She is exhausted from the pain. You take care of her first. Lu Feng said to Seng Ziyi, and then picked up Luo Zuking's white bone long banner and played with it. According to the world of earthly immortals, the white bone long banner is a magic weapon that can enslave ghosts and control enemies. It is quite similar to the effect of the Mark of the Dead that Lu Feng learned from Matayu. After injecting magic power, Lu Feng saw that Luo Zuking's white bone banner enslaved 7 ghosts. When he controlled it, the yin energy in the stone house suddenly became strong. Lu Feng's thought moved, and the 7 ghosts in the banner filed out one after another, and rolled out gusts of yin wind, blowing things in the house. Seng Ziyi, who had practiced martial arts, felt cold all over when he was blown by the yin wind. This white bone banner is quite powerful against warriors, ordinary people, or middle and low-level Taoist children. However, compared with the Zuanine soul-capturing sword energy that Lu Feng had sacrificed in the fragments of the ghost tree, the power of this white bone banner was not enough. This white bone banner is rubbish. The method of sacrifice and refining is very crude. The strength of the ghosts in it is also weak. The yin energy it arouses is wide but not condensed. It is okay for group attacks, but weak against single attacks. Rubbish, still rubbish. Second update. Chapter 60. Bone Soul Stealing Knife, Destitute Fish Head. Lu Feng looked down on the trashy white bone banner. The white bone banner had incomplete restrictions, making it difficult to control. Luo Zuking and the others had also snatched it from someone else, so there was no further method for refining it. Lu Feng simply broke up the white bone banner and refined it again. He first used the Taiyin moonlight to wash the materials of the white bone banner and combed the yin qi in the white bones. Then, he used the Zuanine soul-snatching knife's method to refine the white bones into a long knife, the banner cloth into a scabbard, and 7 yin souls into the white bone blade to breed the Zuanine soul-snatching knife key. Then, he intercepted 7 strands of pure death power from the ghost tree fragments and injected them into the bodies of the 7 yin souls in the white bone blade. With the help of high-quality death power, the Zuanine soul-snatching knife key bred in the white bone blade became more fierce. Okay, This white bone soul snatching knife is considered to be refined. It's much better than your white bone banner. When Lu Feng finished the refining, Luo Zuking, who had fainted from the pain, just woke up. Thank you, Senior Luo. Luo Zuking took the bone soul snatching knife from Lu Feng, her face full of joy. Luo Zuking came outside, used her magic power to activate the bone soul snatching knife, and suddenly a blade energy that was invisible to the naked eye shot out from the knife. Puff. There was a crisp sound. A pine tree opposite Luo Zuking, as thick as a bowl, fell down with a sound. The cut was smooth, and there was a mysterious yin blade energy like a maggot on the tarsal bone that remained on the cut surface for a long time. Senior Luo is so amazing. Beside Luo Zuking, Sang Xiaoyi witnessed everything with envy. With such power, it is more than enough to deal with ordinary middle-grade Taoist children. Even if you encounter a high-grade Taoist child, 7 knives will be fired at the same time. If the opponent does not have a defensive magic weapon, it can also block 1 or 2. With this magic weapon, the 2 women feel more secure. Listening to the 2 women's flattery, Lu Feng did not take credit for it, and said lightly, "This white bone soul-sucking knife is not invincible. After the power is increased, the endurance has decreased. It can only store 7 sword ki. After using it up, you need to collect yin ki to nourish it again." Lu Feng pointed out the shortcomings of the white bone soul-sucking knife and taught Luo Zuking the method of sacrifice and refinement to facilitate her use of this knife. Afterwards, he casually helped Sang Xiaoyi to upgrade and transform her life spirit plant, a pine seedling. Lu Feng was not so concerned about Sang Xiaoyi. Just inject a Kingmu Chang Shang Sutra of mana to catalyze the pine seedling to make it more spiritual, and it was done. The 2 women experienced the effect of Lu Feng's transformation of the life spirit plant, and then said goodbye to Lu Feng, intending to collect the inheritance of the skills for Lu Feng. Lu Feng naturally agreed. Far away from the stone house where Lu Feng was, Sang Xiaoyi raised the long knife on her back with one hand. "Miss, who are we going to find now? The few people we know in Chuan City, have they come to the vicinity of the Shinto spiritual realm?" Luo Zuking stroked the hair beside her ears, and had a plan in mind, saying, "Yesterday I saw Yu Tao Qiang from Kingshu Beach. His family has a set of water-based skills, and he is quite unique in swimming with breath holding, but he has no self-defense method and is not good at fighting. As a cultivator, he lives by fishing in the river, and is often bullied by some warriors. He is very miserable." Hearing this, Sang Xiaoyi's mind appeared Yu Tao Qiang from Kingshu Beach, squatting on the boat with a harpoon, looking frustrated, and nodded in agreement. It didn't take much effort for Luo Zuking and Sang Xiaoyi to find Yu Tao Qiang by a stream far away from the light gate of the Shinto spiritual realm. At this time, Yu Tao Qiang was soaked in the water, with only his head floating on the water, closing his eyes to rest, as if he was practicing. "Yu Tao Qiang, get up and meet the guests. Big sister is here to see you." Sang Xiaoyi was careless and shouted from a distance, awakening Yu Tao Qiang who was practicing in the water. Picking up the harpoon and seeing who was coming, Yu Tao Qiang felt relieved. He scratched his head a little stiffly and greeted, "Sang, hello sister Sang, hello sister Luo." Luo Zuking nodded. Sang Xiaoyi casually found a stone by the stream and sat down. She looked at Yu Tao Qiang and said with a smile, "Why are you so brave this time? You dare to go ashore so far, run to the deep mountains and old forests, and take advantage of the spiritual energy of this Shinto spiritual realm. You know, this area has gathered many people from all walks of life. If anyone doesn't like you and kills you and practices magic weapons, you will lose a lot this time." Sang Xiaoyi stretched out her hand and made a gesture of wiping her neck, threatening. Yu Tao Qiang imagined the possibility of what Sang Xiaoyi said, and he was afraid. He looked at the surrounding trees and bushes and felt a little panic, fearing that a big man would jump out of the bushes and hide him with a club. His body almost subconsciously moved closer to Sang Xiaoyi. "Okay, Xiaoyi, don't scare him. We came to find you today because we have something to ask you." Seeing Yu Tao Qiang's worried look, Luo Zuking smiled and comforted him. "What is it?" Yu Tao Qiang shrank his head and replied in confusion. Luo Zuking's comfort was not very useful, and Yu Tao Qiang was still a little scared. Without Luo Zuking speaking, Sang Xiaoyi said in a careless manner, "It's like this. Recently, the 2 of us have visited a new dock. My master is a good man and is going to recruit some men. I wonder if you are interested." Hearing this, "Recruit me?" Yu Taoqiang looked incredible, his eyes widened in shock, and he almost doubted his ears. Yu Taoqiang was surprised that someone would actually recruit a weakling like him. Although he practiced magic, his strength was weaker than that of a warrior. He was just a little stronger than ordinary people. He had the skill of holding his breath in water, and could fish and row boats in the river. It was easier for him to support his family than ordinary people, but that was all. The Sand Gang disliked him because he was much weaker when he left the water. 3 or 5 strong men could beat him. Yu Taoqiang couldn't think of anybody who would be willing to take such a weakling as his subordinate. Could it be that he wanted to do something bad, covet his body, and refine his flesh and blood? Yu Taoqiang, who was already a little scared by Sang Ziyi, turned pale, clenched the harpoon in his hand, hesitated, and almost wanted to escape. Seeing Yu Taoqiang's surprise and hesitation, Sang Ziyi stood up, stared into Yu Taoqiang's eyes, and said seriously, "Yu Taoqiang, don't worry. My master is very powerful, almost the same as Mr. Chiu of Dongshi City, and has already cultivated to the spiritual realm. He accepted you as a subordinate not because of your strength. My master doesn't like your mediocre cultivation. But the water-based skills you practice are quite interesting, and my master is willing to take a look. You are as powerful as Mr. Chiu, and you want my cultivation method." Hearing Sang Ziyi's words, Yu Taoqiang felt relieved and breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out that he just wanted my cultivation method. Yu Taoqiang's expression changed, and he immediately showed a flattering smile like a dog, and moved closer to Sang Ziyi. Sister Sang, I am willing, I am willing. It's just a method. My method is not worth much, as long as I can get the protection of the master, let alone the method, even my little body can be dedicated. The first update. To be continued. Chapter 61, Recruiting Independent Practitioners and Summoning Gods. Okay. We agree. Sang Ziyi pushed away with some disdain, and Yu Taoqiang, who had turned into a dog, agreed with a smile. Great, thank you Sister Sang, from now on, whatever you say, I will do it, even if it means going through fire and water. After getting the nods from Sang Ziyi and Luo Zuking, Yu Taoqiang became slightly more confident. After more than 10 years of poverty, after today, Yu Taoqiang, can finally stand up straight. Without mentioning the changes in Yu Taoqiang's heart, Sang Ziyi and Luo Zuking looked at each other and were very happy. It was beyond their expectations that Yu Taoqiang was so easily subdued. They were originally going to talk about the promises made by Lu Feng, but Yu Taoqiang didn't wait for them to persuade him, which saved a lot for Senior Luo. After accepting Yu Taoqiang, the two women took Yu Taoqiang to continue looking for suitable candidates nearby to persuade him. On the surface, now that he is covered with the identity of a small leader of the Sand Gang, the two women did not speak to the monks in Chuan City who joined the Sand Gang. Just looking for some independent cultivators who have not joined the Sand Gang. Most of these independent cultivators have some skills, but they may not be strong enough to join the Sand Gang. Living in the corners that the Sand Gang doesn't want, most of them are not very happy. Some people nodded in agreement to Luo Zuking's persuasion, and the two women warmly welcomed them. Some people regarded them as tigers, thinking that they wanted to snatch the skills and plotted ill, and those with bad tempers dared to take action. Facing such people, Luo Zuking didn't indulge them, and took out the white-bone soul-sucking knife to teach them a lesson on the spot. Beat them half to death, and asked them to hand over the skills and apologize. Excluding some minor accidents, when it was getting dark, the two women returned to the stone house where Lu Feng was, and 8 independent cultivators had followed behind them. Lu Feng walked out of the stone house after hearing the sound, and the group of 10 people all looked at Lu Feng. Lu Feng's young and handsome appearance surprised the 8 people behind the two women, such a young senior. But feeling the condensed momentum of Lu Feng, they immediately had no other thoughts in their minds. Although they had not had much contact with Mr. Chiu of Dongshi City, Mr. Chu's strength was probably the same as Lu Feng in their eyes. The 8 people, 3 of them were middle-aged, 2 old men, an old woman, a woman, and a young man, all looked at him with a little respect at this moment. Lu Feng's eyes swept over the 8 people one by one, clapped his hands, coughed and said, "You can follow Luo Zuking here, I think you know my purpose. Yes, I just want to collect some skills inheritance, study more skills, and use them to make up for my lack of skills. If you give me the skills, I will protect you as you say, and give you some benefits by the way, or give you some guidance when studying your skills." Since he agreed with Luo Zuking's recruitment, Lu Feng would naturally not be polite to these people and trade fairly and justly. Hearing Lu Feng speak, the eyes of the 8 casual cultivators lit up one by one. They are casual cultivators, and life is not easy. After listening to Luo Zuking's persuasion and joining in, they naturally have something to ask for. Now that they have received Lu Feng's promise, the benefits are far beyond their expectations, and they are all excited. The adult in front of them is, as the 2 women said, a really good person. Now, you can also introduce yourselves and talk about your skills. The expressions of several people fell into Lu Feng's eyes, and he knew that these people were already settled. Their skills have become his possession. As soon as Lu Feng finished speaking, Yu Taoqiang, holding a harpoon and disheveled hair, was about to rush out of the line, and a middle-aged man in black clothes came out quickly and clasped his fists. I am Yu Donglei, and my family has a magical martial arts that can be possessed by gods. Yu Donglei came to the pine stump next to the stone house, muttered something, then stomped his feet, held his breath, and shouted, please invite a mighty general to possess me. Then his eyes rolled up, and the muscles on his body suddenly swelled up, as if he had borrowed infinite divine power from the mighty general, and his strength increased instantly. He raised his right hand high, and the muscles on it were as hard as stone, which made the black sleeve burst directly. Swish! The next moment, Yu Donglei punched forward, and his strong right hand was like a cannonball, with a fierce gust of wind, and hit the pine stump fiercely. Bang! With a sound, the pine stump as thick as a bowl was smashed into pieces by Yu Donglei's punch. Amid the flying sawdust, Yu Donglei's muscles quickly deflated and recovered as usual. His face also turned pale, and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. However, seeing the power of his punch, which frightened others to retreat involuntarily, Yu Donglei smiled with satisfaction. It was not in vain that he spent a lot of accumulation of the divine power general. With this move, such power should make the adults look up to him. Not bad, not bad. Lu Feng's eyes lit up. Yu Donglei's punch, which was inspired by the gods, looked powerful, but in Lu Feng's eyes, it was just that. With his physical fitness, a casual punch would be more powerful than this. But Yu Donglei's body is at best a warrior, with a little bit of mana in his body, mixed with some yin energy, incense and vows, and it is muddled. His strength is much worse than Sang Xiaoyi, a beginner cultivator, but the punch he threw with a god-inviting method, landing on Sang Xiaoyi, can definitely smash Sang Xiaoyi into pieces. Your method of invoking the gods is interesting. There are no gods in the world now, and the godly general you invited is just a ghost you worship yourself. Not very good. But with your own cultivation, you can exert such power. This method is interesting. Come in with me, and talk about this method of invoking the gods. Lu Feng waved his hand, cast a mana of the King Mu Chang Sheng Sutra, and cast a recovery spell, and the emerald green spiritual light fell on Yu Donglei. Suddenly, Yu Donglei, who had just used the method of summoning gods and whose body was hollowed out and whose spirit was depressed, became energetic and all the fatigue on his body faded away. Thank you, sir. Lu Feng's move shocked the others. Yu Donglei also hurriedly thanked him and followed Lu Feng into the stone house. The stone house was not very big, more than 10 square meters, which was more than enough for 2 people. Come sit down and have some tea. I have set up a soundproof magic array in this room. You can speak your method of summoning gods boldly. People outside will definitely not hear it. Lu Feng sat down at the table and poured a cup of tea for Yu Donglei. After Luo Zuking and the other girls left, Lu Feng also spent some time to decorate this stone house. It was unknown when the matter of the Shinto spirit realm would end. He might have to stay here for a while. How could Lu Feng feel at ease if he didn't decorate the place where he lived and slept? Thank you, sir. The two were alone, and Yu Donglei became reserved. He sat down at the table nervously and thanked him repeatedly. Second update. I made a pie with a boutique boss and we promote each other. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62, The Mighty General Surrenders and Dies. As the two went down his throat, the warm spiritual energy dissipated, and Yu Donglei's spirit was lifted. The flow of mana in his body became much smoother. He thought to himself that this gentleman was really a generous person. He casually took out this kind of spiritual tea to share with others. His risky move this time was considered to be a good bet. After drinking the tea, Yu Donglei immediately took out a palm-sized jade sculpture from his arms and showed it to Lu Feng. The jade sculpture was carved into a mighty general, with a clear face, real clothes and armor, and a murderous aura. Ordinary people with weak minds would be frightened by the murderous aura on the mighty general, and their legs would go weak after taking a look at the real face of the mighty general. The carving is good, with some charm. It should be the work of a famous artist. Lu Feng nodded. With his eyesight, he could clearly see that there was a spirit in the jade sculpture that Yu Donglei took out. The appearance of the spirit was exactly the same as the mighty general on the jade sculpture. There is not much difference between spirits and ghosts in essence, except that the spiritual energy of heaven and earth that constitutes the body is different. The body of a ghost is mostly made up of yin energy, and it is afraid of the sun and fire. When walking in the world, there are gusts of yin wind, which is very bad for people's blood. The divine power general, who has been worshipped by the Yu Donglei family for a long time, has long been refined to get rid of the yin body and replaced with pure spiritual energy in his family's long-term sacrifice and cultivation, which has a bit of masculine and righteous taste. In the long-term sacrifice and cultivation of the Yu family, the divine power general is also entangled with a strong incense and wish power, as well as the iron-blooded murderous aura that matches the power. In Yu Donglei's narration, Lu Feng quickly understood the mystery of Yu Donglei's thunder god beating technique. On weekdays, sacrifice to the divine power general, and when needed, ask the divine power general to possess the body and use the power of the divine power general to fight the enemy. Although the divine power general is only a spirit body, in the joint sacrifice and cultivation of many people in the Yu family, the incense and wish power are gathered. After possessing the body, it can also exert the power comparable to that of a low-grade Taoist child. Lu Feng was not very interested in the magic of fighting, the method of offering sacrifices to the spirit body, and the method of strengthening possession. He just remembered it in his heart for future use. What he was slightly interested in was the method of the Yu family to collect incense and vows and offer sacrifices to the spirit body. The Buddhist sect is good at using incense and vows. Monk Hujing remembered the benefits of incense and vows, but he did not remember the method of collecting incense and vows. Now, in the world of earthly immortals, he encountered such a method, and Lu Feng immediately became interested. Yu Donglei also said that this method of collecting incense and vows was given to his ancestors by a Taoist priest who had reached the spiritual realm, and was specifically used to collect incense and vows for Taoist priests. In Chuan City, the Samgang monopolized the local temples and Taoist temples, and did not allow others to collect incense and vows. The Yu family could only secretly worship in their own family and collect some incense and vows to worship the great General Shenwei. Lu Feng also found many uses of incense and vows from Monk Hujing's memory. Incense and wish power can be used to refine magic tools, cultivate ghost soldiers, and forge spiritual realms. In the Day Temple where Monk Hujing is located, incense and wish power are used as the basic currency for trading and purchasing precious spiritual objects. In the earthly immortal world, incense and wish power are quite popular, but it seems that no one in the wizard world has ever collected such things. Lu Feng's mind moved. Just from a magic fighting technique, he discovered another huge resource mine in the wizard world. The wizard world has a vast land in the Trandy subcontinent alone. It is 2 or 3 times larger than the Eurasian continent in his previous life. How many people can such a land support? How much incense and wish power can be collected? Is it possible to buy the entire Daxun dynasty? Anyway, as long as Lu Feng pays attention, he at least doesn't have to worry about the future expenses of the earthly immortal world. Lu Feng already has a plan in his mind. After his wizard tower is built, he will start to collect a batch of incense and wish power from Hongye town to see the situation. Lu Feng was very satisfied with Yu Donglei's magic fighting skills. He took a sip of tea and said with a smile, "Your magic fighting skills can help me a little. You can make a request that is not too much?" Hearing Lu Feng's words, Yu Donglei was delighted. After hesitating for a while, the tall and strong Yu Donglei knelt down in front of Lu Feng with a plop, and said with a determined face, "Sir, I have an unwelcome request. I dare to ask you to practice my family's Shenwei general into your spiritual realm. Are you sure?" Lu Feng put down the teacup, his face was serious, and his eyes fell coldly on Yu Donglei. Being watched by Lu Feng, Yu Donglei felt a cold momentum crushing over his head, but after making this decision, Yu Donglei had already fought for his life. After the exchange just now, Yu Donglei determined that Lu Feng was a good boss worth following. For the future of the Yu family, Yu Donglei was willing to use his life to fight and bet on a future. Do you know that after refining the Great General of Divine Power into my spiritual realm, the Great General of Divine Power will be under my control? The cultivation method of your Yu family is closely related to the Great General of Divine Power. It also means that the life and death of the Yu family are all under my control. Have you considered the pros and cons? Lu Feng said coldly, torturing Yu Donglei's heart. Just like when Lu Feng dealt with the ghost tree fragments, he practiced the ghost soul into the ghost tree fragments covered by the Kingmu spiritual realm and refined the Zuanine soul capturing sword energy. It is not bad for Lu Feng to practice the Great General of Divine Power into his Kingmu spiritual realm. On the contrary, after practicing the spirit of the Great General of Divine Power into the Kingmu spiritual realm, Lu Feng can have one more subordinate. At the same time, the incense and wish power of the Yu family to worship the Great General of Divine Power will all be integrated into his Kingmu spiritual realm. In the future, how much power Yu Donglei can use from the Great General of Divine Power will all depend on Lu Feng's mood. As a transit platform for incense and wish power, Lu Feng can extract some money more or less, and it is a sure profit. But for the family, it was like handing over the lifeblood of the Yu family to Lu Feng. Yu Donglei heard this and still said firmly, "My little heart has been made up, please help me." Yu Donglei was so devoted to him, so Lu Feng also followed his wishes, picked up Yu Donglei's jade carving, and practiced in the Kingmu spirit realm. A mark was transformed into the spirit of General Shenwei, and the spirits of the Yu family who had been practicing for generations became the shape of Lu Feng. After falling into the Kingmu spirit realm, the residual souls of General Shenwei and Monk Hujing floated beside the dead energy-absorbing ancient tree, slowly rotating around the dead energy-absorbing ancient tree like two satellites. Seeing Lu Feng's actions, Yu Donglei knew that the adults agreed to his request, and a happy smile appeared on his face. As usual, he chanted the name of General Shenwei and worshipped sincerely. Suddenly, Lu Feng saw a white spiritual light floating from Yu Donglei's head, following an invisible passage, connecting to his Kingmu spirit realm. Is this the power of incense and vows? My Kingmu spirit realm seems to be very interested in this power of incense and vows. Lu Feng experienced the changes in Kingmu spirit realm, and a look of joy appeared in his eyes. First update. To be continued. Chapter 63, The Power of Incense and Vows. Red Leaf Society. The incense and vows generated by Yu Donglei's worship of the Great General of Divine Power fell into Lu Feng's Kingmu spirit realm. He had also witnessed Monk Hujing saving the people in front of the gate of Dongshi City, earning incense and vows, and worshipping the monk's Mingwang Dharma image. But this was the first time that Lu Feng had touched the incense and vows with his own hands. Lu Feng felt Yu Donglei's strong personal emotions and thoughts from the white incense and vows. The Yu family's worship method includes a prayer. The incense and vows generated during the prayer are full of praise for the mighty deeds of the Great General of Divine Power. The Great General of Divine Power is only a spirit, but under the long-term influence of such incense and vows, he has slowly transformed into a mighty general. It feels like a wish has come true. I don't know if a god can be born by worshipping like this. Lu Feng felt the incense and vows, and an absurd idea suddenly popped up in his mind. But in the world of earthly immortals, if gods were so easy to appear, then the territory of the Great Zhuan dynasty would be full of gods. It is impossible to imagine. Lu Feng activated the restriction of the Kingmu spirit realm, and the dim halo turned slightly. The white incense and wish power merged into the halo and was consumed in an instant. The incense and wish power feel like lubricating oil. Refining it in the restriction can make the spiritual realm more smooth. Lu Feng recorded this change in the Kingmu spirit realm. Outside the spiritual realm, Yu Donglei worshipped the Great General Shenwei and successfully communicated with the Great General Shenwei in the spiritual realm using the method of divine fighting. Relying on Lu Feng's Kingmu spirit realm, after the transfer of the spiritual realm, Yu Donglei communicated with the Great General Shenwei more smoothly. He was delighted to experience this change. Then Yu Donglei asked for the divine power of the Great General Shenwei to possess his body. After the transfer of the Kingmu spirit realm, the power of the Great General Shenwei had a little more characteristics of the Kingmu spirit realm. The Kingmu Changsheng Sutra is a wonderful method for health preservation and longevity. The magic power cultivated is full of vitality and spirituality. The Kingmu spiritual realm built on this foundation is naturally no exception. The vitality contained in the Kingmu spiritual realm, which is centered on the energy-absorbing ancient tree seeds, is even greater. The divine power that was invited was poured into his body. At the same time, Yu Donglai's eyes rolled back and his muscles swelled again. After swinging his fists and consuming all the divine power, Yu Donglai was surprised to find that there was still a faint vitality in the remaining divine power nourishing his body. After thinking about it for a while, Yu Donglai immediately understood that this was brought by Lu Feng's spiritual realm. Sure enough, my family's method of inviting God still needs to be attached to the spiritual realm to exert its full power. Thank you for your gift. Yu Donglai was happy and did not forget to thank Lu Feng for his gift. Okay, you'll stop talking first. After you go out, tell the next person to come in. You should work well under me in the future. I won't treat you unfairly. Lu Feng waved his hand and told Yu Donglai at the same time. Yes, I'll remember that. Yu Donglai nodded seriously and replied. He walked out of the stone house with a happy face. The others behind Luo Zuking saw Yu Donglai's smile and immediately surrounded him excitedly. Master Yu, how is it? What benefits did you get from the adults? Facing everyone's questions, Yu Donglai just smiled and didn't say directly, don't say, the adults have told you to go in one by one. Yu Donglai's evasive look made others a little unhappy, but they soon forgot about this and scrambled to enter the stone house in order. The quarrels made Luo Zuking a little upset. Be quiet, what's the point of making so much noise? I'll sort them out. Follow my order. First, Yu Tao Kaiang, you go in first. With a cold snort, Luo Zuking pulled out the white bone soul-snatching knife. The cold breath dissipated, and the noisy people on the field suddenly quieted down. They had just witnessed Luo Zuking's ruthless style of doing things not long ago. Several people didn't want to try the feeling of being pierced by the white bone soul-snatching knife. After being quiet, Yu Tao Kaiang walked into the stone house under the envious gaze. I'm Yu Tao Kaiang, the little one, and I'm honored to meet you, sir. Have some tea, and tell me more about your skills. My skills are water-based skills, called swimming skills. When practicing, you absorb the spiritual energy in the water and develop a magical power, so that you can breathe and swim in the water. Lu Feng carefully used the memory crystal to record Yu Tao Kaiang's swimming skills. This skill has no other special features except that it allows practitioners to breathe and swim in the water. If you study it, you can increase some skills in breathing and swimming in the water. So, Lu Feng commented and suggested, well, your technique is very ordinary and has no special features. I suggest you switch to other techniques. However, with your talent and qualifications, it may be troublesome to switch to other techniques. Here is a martial arts technique, you can practice it first. Hearing Lu Feng's comments, Yu Tao Kaiang was a little depressed. But he still knew that some of the family techniques were rubbish. Hearing that Lu Feng could give him a martial arts technique, Yu Tao Kaiang's eyes lit up and he said happily, I am willing, thank you for the reward. Let Yu Tao Kaiang look at the memory crystal once and remember the elephant armor technique with the addition of the wild elephant visualization diagram. Lu Feng continued to receive other people. The remaining 6 people entered the stone house one by one. After handing over all their techniques to Lu Feng, they received rewards and walked out of the stone house happily one by one. From the 6 people, Lu Feng obtained 3 techniques, 2 spells, and 1 martial arts. Red Fire Power, White Cloud Key, Yin and Yang Harmony Technique. Yin Feng Howl, Snake Controlling Spiritual Technique. Bronze Arm Iron Bone Technique. 2 methods of gathering energy, 1 method of gathering and replenishing energy on weekends, 2 spells, and 1 method of body training. Lu Feng recorded them one by one, preparing to study them carefully and understand the secrets of the world of earthly immortals. After sorting out these methods, Lu Feng walked out of the stone house, came to the crowd, and said, Today you have submitted your letters of surrender, and from now on you are my subordinates. As long as you do not violate the rules I set and work for me loyally, you will get benefits. Do you understand? Understood. I will go through fire and water for you, and I will do anything for you. Everyone said in unison. Just for handing over the methods, Lu Feng gave them an unexpected reward, which shows that you are a generous and good boss. In addition, Lu Feng's superb strength can be compared with that of Mr. Chu. Everyone already knows what to choose. Hold on to Lu Feng's big golden legs, walk one way to death, and seek a chick life. Lu Feng told Luo Zuking a few of his rules and asked her to expand them, formulate them into rules and regulations, and inform everyone. Senior Luo, our faction doesn't have a name yet. It's not very convenient for us to do things or recruit people. Can we give it a name to make it easier for us to do things? When Lu Feng mentioned this, he pondered and thought, then said, let's call it the Red Leaf Society. Second update. Recommend a wizard novel by Wonding. Chapter 64, Red leaves are just beginning to appear, and the Sand Gang is plotting. Red Leaf Club. The name didn't mean much to Lu Feng. He just didn't want to waste brain cells, so he changed the name of Red Leaf Town to here. The name was finalized for the time being, and the few people who joined Lu Feng's team also felt a little more belonging in their hearts. From now on, they were also people who had a big boss to look after. Red Leaf Club, under Lu Feng, temporarily led by Luo Zuking as vice president, assisted by Yu Donglai and Sang Ziai, to manage the entire organization. I don't know when the matter of the Shinto spirit realm will be over. The Red Leaf Club will temporarily build a base here. The spiritual energy of the heaven and earth here is quite abundant due to the influence of the Shinto spirit realm, and it will be easier for you to practice here. Lu Feng said to Luo Zuking, sweeping his eyes across the white light on the big rock in the distance. I understand, President. Hearing this, Luo Zuking nodded in agreement. Next to the Shinto spirit realm, the Sam Gang and Mr. Chiu have already started to build houses around the Shinto spirit realm, as if they were planning to stay here for a long time. With President Lu Feng here, the Red Leaf Society will certainly intervene in the exploration of the Shinto spirit realm in the future. Both families have started to act, and the Red Leaf Society cannot fall behind. President Luo, there are some young descendants in my family who are tough and strong. Can we let them join the society and contribute to their strength? Yu Donglai, who was standing aside, heard about the construction of the base. His eyes turned, and he immediately expressed his opinion. The Red Leaf Society was newly built and was short of manpower. Yu Donglai had already handed over the core of the divine fighting technique, so he simply pulled his whole family into the Red Leaf Society. One more person can also contribute more to the development of the Red Leaf Society. It can also gain more benefits for the Yu family in the future. Of course, as long as the people you pull into the society honestly abide by the rules and regulations of the Red Leaf Society and make more contributions to the Red Leaf Society, there will be no problem. Lu Feng nodded and agreed to Yu Donglai's request. Strength is greater with more people, and it is easier to get things done with more people. The greater the power of the Red Leaf Society, the better Lu Feng can enjoy the benefits of establishing the Red Leaf Society. In the wizard world, powerful wizards rarely live alone. Each of them has a large number of people serving them. Wizard apprentices, great knights, alchemy puppets, and subordinate races. Every wizard tower built is a force formed with wizards as the core, covering the vast land around it, ruling many ordinary people, and even other humanoid races. Wizards are also human beings. They need to eat, drink, defecate, and urinate, and they need to conduct experiments and research. With the assistance of forces, wizards can spend less time on miscellaneous matters. It is impossible for wizards to spend a lot of time cooking for themselves when they are hungry and want to eat. This principle also applies to the world of earthly immortals. The Sand Gang and young Master Chiu have a large number of people serving them. After Yu Donglai's statement, several other people also started to think about it, clamoring to pull their families into the Red Leaf Society, and Lu Feng agreed one by one. But Lu Feng also specifically told Luo Zuking to treat these new members equally and strictly implement the rules and regulations of the Red Leaf Society. We must not allow the Red Leaf Society to have a bad apple that would destroy the stability of the Red Leaf. Under Lu Feng's might, everyone felt sympathetic and swore to do their best to protect the development of the Red Leaf Society. After the lecture, Yu Donglai and his men returned to the city to pick up people. Luo Zuking and Sang Ziai had nothing to worry about, so they took the initiative to look for materials nearby to prepare for the construction of this place. Everyone was busy, and Lu Feng returned to the stone house to practice behind closed doors. The establishment of the Red Leaf Society was not very loud, but it also spread with the news of Luo Zuking's previous recruitment. On the other side of the light gate, in the Sand Gang's garrison, Wang Wu and the two gang leaders heard the news and their faces darkened. Brother, this Luo Feng is too much of a bullshit. It turns out that what he said when we came to his door was bullshit. As soon as we left, he started recruiting people and created a Red Leaf Society. The tall and thin Susi said angrily. Brother, We have learned that the few people who just joined the Red Leaf Society have returned to Chuan City. It seems that they are going to bring their families to join the Red Leaf Society. Brother, should we send some people to kill these people and teach the Red Leaf Society a lesson? Our San Gang is the leader of Chuan Town. Luo Feng opened a hall here, but he didn't even pay us a visit. It's really unruly. He doesn't take our local gang seriously at all. The short Key Sam said viciously with a fierce light in his eyes. Forget it. Brothers, don't get angry. The fat Wang Wu smiled kindly and said, our San Gang has not fallen out with Luo Feng yet. How can we do such a despicable thing? If it gets out, wouldn't it be a loss of face for our San Gang and make people laugh at us? Then, let it go. Key Sam said unwillingly. In his heart, Lu Feng's grand establishment of the Red Leaf Society was already shitting and pissing on his head. How could he endure it? Forget it, it's not that serious. Luo Feng is very powerful, but the people he recruits are ordinary casual cultivators that our San Gang doesn't like. It's not easy for us to take action. But the people around Mr. Chiu are different. Wang Wu's face was full of fat, and his eyes were only a slit when he smiled. Brother, what do you mean? Hearing this, Qi San's eyes lit up, and he looked at Su Si, and immediately understood what his elder brother meant. They had no grudges with the Red Leaf Society, but Mr. Chiu and the Red Leaf Society had a great hatred of exterminating an entire family. As long as they revealed this news, Mr. Chiu would naturally help them solve these troubles. Hey. After understanding what his elder brother meant, only the three people's sinister laughter remained in the spacious station. Lu Feng didn't know the malicious intentions of the San Gang for the time being. After sending away the other people from the Red Leaf Society, he entered the stone house, closed the door, and turned around to return to the wizard world. In the underground laboratory, Lu Feng secretly practiced a method of observing the power of incense and vows. Suddenly, the world in his eyes changed drastically. A vast expanse of incense and power filled Lu Feng's surroundings, as if he was in a sea of power. Looking around, it was all power. Thank you, Wizard Rest, for the seeds you gave us. We no longer have to worry about food. Thank you, Wizard Rest, for letting my son learn the Knight's breathing method and have a strong body. Thank you, Wizard Rest. In an instant, the prayers and murmurs of countless people in Hongye town rang in his ears. The buzzing sound made Lu Feng's head ache and his spirit was depressed. Until Lu Feng's spirit shrank into the Kingmu spirit realm, under the protection of the spirit realm, the sound of the power. Chapter 65, with the power of incense and vows, local gangs are restless. However, although it was painful to touch the incense power just now, Lu Feng also saw the magnificent incense power in the wizard world through this contact. The incense power generated by the residents of Hongye town is vast, far beyond the meager power generated by Yu Donglui's prayers. With the efforts of 2 generations of Baron Hongye, Lu Feng, a wizard, has always been the object of worship and awe for the residents of Hongye town, with 70,000 to 80,000 residents. In addition, after Lu Feng's return, the sense of security brought to Hongye town and the slow changes in all aspects have benefited the residents of Hongye town. For ordinary people living in Hongye town, they often talk about whoever brings them benefits. The essence of incense power is the spiritual thoughts of people. The residents of Hongye town often talk about Lu Feng, and naturally generate power, which surrounds Lu Feng. Over time, a magnificent ocean of power is accumulated. Of course, calling it an ocean is a bit exaggerated. It's just that Lu Feng's strength is limited, his vision is too narrow, and he sees too little, so he feels like an ocean. After a rest, when the mental power he just consumed is restored, Lu Feng's spirit is placed in the Kingmu spirit realm, and he uses the method of collecting incense and wish power from the Yu family to attract the incense and wish power around him. In the Kingmu spirit realm shrouded in emerald green spiritual light, a bright white river of wish power flows into the energy-absorbing ancient tree seeds under Lu Feng's control. The emerald green spiritual realm restrictions flicker and work hard to digest the incense and wish power. Kaka. With the help of the incense and wish power, the restrictions of the Kingmu spirit realm rotate smoothly, and the speed at which the energy-absorbing ancient tree seeds absorb the wood energy from the ghost tree fragments is also increasing. With the help of incense and wish power, the growth rate of the Kingmu spirit realm is about 3 times faster. What a pleasant surprise! Lu Feng looked at the majestic incense and wish power around him, made a rough estimate, and was happy. The growth of Kingmu spirit realm accelerated, and the time before he was promoted to the realm of Taoist priests was shortened. When the spiritual realm restriction grew to perfection, it would be the time for him to merge with King Mu's spirit realm and become a Taoist priest. At that time, with the help of the cultivation of the earthly immortal way, he might be able to peek into the realm of a formal wizard and fulfill his decades-long dream of becoming a wizard. When Lu Feng assisted the growth of King Mu's spirit realm, the great general Hongye, who was sacrificed and refined into King Mu's spirit realm by him, was also attracted by the rich incense and willpower, and his spirit body instinctively approached the white river of incense and willpower. Glimpsing the performance of the spirit body of the great general Hongye, Lu Feng separated a trace of his mind and controlled the great general Hongye to absorb the incense and willpower. Lu Feng did not let go of the residual soul of monk Hujing. He used the family's method to sacrifice it a little, and after it was trained into a spirit body, it was also stuffed into the willpower river, absorbing the incense and willpower together with the great general Hongye. Lu Feng's existing incense and willpower was too much, and it was consumed too slowly just to cultivate King Mu's spirit realm. Cultivating 2 more spirit bodies would not be a big deal. After discovering the effect of incense and vows, Lu Feng stayed in the earthly immortal world during the day to recover his spirit, and returned to the wizard world at night to absorb incense and vows to cultivate the King Mu spirit realm. 2 days passed quickly during Lu Feng's practice. With the efforts of Luo Zuking and Sang Ziyi, several thatched houses were built next to the stone house where Lu Feng lived. 8 more casual cultivators, after hearing about the benefits of Yu Donglai and others using the cultivation method, shamelessly approached Luo Zuking, offered the cultivation method, and joined the Red Leaf Society. After reading the cultivation method, Lu Feng continued to give rewards. However, this time, it was less than that of Yu Donglai and others. Even so, the 8 newly joined casual cultivators were overjoyed and had a greater sense of identity with the Red Leaf Society. At the same time, during the discussion between Lu Feng and Luo Zuking also began to formulate a standardized cultivation method exchange system for the Red Leaf Society. The stability of an organization cannot rely on personal preferences, but requires a complete set of systems. Lu Feng began to classify the skills according to their preciousness, and gave corresponding points according to the skills he assessed, which could be used to exchange for various treasures and skills provided by Lu Feng. This system was only in its infancy, but it was unanimously recognized by the 8 new casual cultivators. The emergence of skills levels and points gave them more opportunities to choose treasures, and it was also more fair. Although the Red Leaf Club's base was small, it gradually showed a different vitality under various systems. In the base, Luo Zuking looked in the direction of Chuan City, estimating the time when Yu Donglai and others would return. Suddenly, a shrewd hunchbacked old man ran to Luo Zuking's side and said anxiously, President Luo, I have something urgent to report. What is it? Don't worry, tell me slowly. Luo Zuking turned around and looked at Zhuang Qinglin, who was sweating profusely. Suddenly, a bad premonition emerged in her heart, and her eyebrows were slightly frowned. Hearing this, Zhuang Qinglin took a breath and said quickly, Just now when I was setting up a stall in the trading market here, I heard Mr. Chu's men discussing the affairs of the Red Leaf Society. They said that the leader of Red Leaf is Mr. Chu's mortal enemy, and they wanted to teach the Red Leaf Society a lesson, so that the Red Leaf Society would know how powerful they are. They also said that Chairman Luo Feng is very powerful and cannot be moved, so they can start with the Red Leaf Society's gang members who return to Chuan City. Those loose cultivators are easy to deal with. Zuking, Mr. Chu's men are also despicable. Hearing Zhuang Qinglin's story, Sang Ziyi, who was next to Luo Zuking, was furious. With a swish, he drew out the long knife from his back and immediately wanted to fight with Mr. Chu's men. Unlike Sang Ziyi's anger, Luo Zuking had no expression on her face at this moment. Instead, she stared at Zhuang Qinglin coldly and asked, Are you sure it was Mr. Chu's men who said that in person? Hearing Luo Zuking's question, Zhuang Qinglin was stunned for a moment, then reacted, and said with cold sweat on his head, President Luo, did someone say these words to me on purpose? Huh? Sang Ziyi, who was burning with anger, was stunned suddenly, as if he remembered something, and reacted. He continued with Zhuang Qinglin's words, gritting his teeth and cursing, How did Mr. Chu's men know the hatred between us and Mr. Chu? The only outsiders who knew about this were the 3 leaders of the San Gang. Damn it, those bastards of the San Gang are really a bunch of bad eggs. Come on, follow me to report to the president. When it comes to the San Gang and Mr. Chu, I can't make a decision easily. Seeing that the 2 had reacted, Luo Zuking walked towards Lu Feng's stone house. In the stone house, listening to Zhong Qinglan's report and Luo Zuking's additional analysis, Lu Feng understood what happened. After a pause, Lu Feng said, "Sure enough, the Sand Gang, a local gang, is very disrespectful to me, the master. They clearly showed some strength to Wang Wu last time, but I didn't expect him to be restless." Hearing this, Luo Zuking and the other two looked up at Lu Feng, only to see that the corners of Lu Feng's mouth slowly opened, revealing a strange smile, and a hint of murderous intent seemed to float in his eyes. Second update. Daily Pie is a fine wizard novel with 1.22 million words. Readers who like wizard novels can go and have a look. Chapter 66, Make a plan and encounter the enemy on the way back. In the earthly immortal world, the Red Leaf Society was established blatantly in the sphere of influence of the Sand Gang. When Lu Feng made this plan, he had already anticipated the current situation. The earthly immortal world is poor in spiritual energy, and the incense and the power of vows have become precious resources for cultivation. In disguise, ordinary people have also become a resource. Lu Feng poached people from Chuan City and established a Red Leaf Society, which was equivalent to poaching from the Sand Gang in front of them. If it weren't for Lu Feng's strong strength, the Sand Gang would have fought him head-on. It's normal to use some tricks behind the scenes when there is a conflict of interest. Lu Feng's eyes were cold, and he swept over Luo Zuking and the other two, and said lightly, "Since the Sand Gang is fanning the flames, and Mr. Chu's men are also ready to take action, then our Red Leaf Society can't lose momentum. President, what should we do?" Luo Zuking heard this, and her eyes lit up. Senior Luo's words clearly showed that he was ready to fight Mr. Chu and the Sand Gang. Thinking of the hatred with Mr. Chu, Luo Zuking was filled with a strong desire to fight, and Sang Xiaoyi was no exception. Only Zhong Qinglan, who had joined not long ago, was a little timid when he heard that he was going to fight with two major forces. There was also a bit of fear on his face. Zhong Qinglan was a casual cultivator who had lived in Chuan City for a long time. He knew the power of the Sand Gang very well. After hearing what Lu Feng meant, he was filled with worry. Glancing at the excitement of the two women and Zhong Qinglan's worry, Lu Feng said in a steady tone, "I have already made up my mind about how to deal with them. You can just act according to my plan." "I understand, President." Luo Zuking nodded. While Lu Feng was arranging his troops, Yu Donglai and his men who were far away in Chuan City had already selected the elite from each family, brought the necessary supplies, and set off on the road to the place where the Shinto spirit realm was born. Going to the barren mountains and old forests this time and joining the Red Leaf Society is definitely a great opportunity for you guys. When you get to the Red Leaf Society, you all have to work hard, maybe you can have a bright future. On the way forward, Yu Donglai gave a speech to the 13 Yu family members to boost their morale. On this way, they need to pass through the barren mountains and wild ridges, and the situation is unknown, so it is not easy to walk. Patriarch, we all understand, and we will definitely not hold you back. After Yu Donglai came back, the Yu family members re-worshipped the great General Shenwei. After experiencing the changes in the magic fighting technique brought by the Qingmu spirit realm, they were full of yearning for the Red Leaf Society. Several other casual cultivators also learned from Yu Donglai to give speeches to the family members. Although the benefits they obtained were not as obvious as the magic fighting technique, they could also give the family disciples a general impression of the Red Leaf Society and make them yearn for it. With high morale, a group of more than 100 people from the 8 families set out on the road to the Red Leaf Society. Time flies, and 2 days have passed. Yu Donglai and his party walked into a valley, not far from the place where the Shinto spirit realm was located. The autumn sun was still scorching, and it was the time when the sun was blazing in the sky. Yu Donglai wiped the sweat from his forehead, looked ahead, and shouted to the back, "After climbing over 3 more hills, I will reach my destination. Everyone cheer up." As soon as he finished speaking, a group of birds suddenly flew up from the forest in front of him, chirping and flying away. Seeing the birds suddenly flying, Yu Donglai's heart suddenly jumped, and the others also smelled a hint of ominous smell. "Yu Taoqiang, notify everyone to be careful and prepare weapons. Old Man Liu, please control the long worm to explore the front." Yu Donglai frowned and ordered. "Understood." Hearing Yu Donglai's words, several people looked at each other and responded immediately. Yu Taoqiang, who has been practicing the savage elephant breathing method these days, has become a little stronger and has a little more strength. He waved the harpoon and immediately turned back to notify others. The old man Liu, who was called by Yudongli, practiced the art of controlling snakes and communicating with spirits. He raised some long insects and controlled them to fight against the enemy. Old man Liu stroked his pale beard, narrowed his eyes, and whistled softly. Suddenly, a smart black snake emerged from his sleeve and swam quickly into the forest ahead. According to Yudongli's instructions, he went to explore the way ahead. The family members behind Yudongli also prepared their weapons at the reminder of Yu Tao Qiang, formed a circle, stared at the mountains and forests in all directions carefully. Chuan City is not a safe place. Gangs in the city are fighting, and bandits are rampant outside the city. Several families living in the city have long been accustomed to such crises. Among the nearly 100 family members, except for the 2 sons of Yu Tao Qiang who are mediocre, the others have basically practiced magic and martial arts with their fathers, and at least 10 people are not allowed to get close. When Yudongli and his group stopped, in the distant forest, the leader of the group under Master Chu frowned slightly. Manager Chang, did the group below notice any movement? Otherwise, why didn't they move? Behind the middle-aged man called Manager Chang, a white-faced, beardless young man looked at Yudongli and his group below and reminded them. It should be the birds we just startled that made them notice something. Inform the brothers, don't wait, get ready to act. Manager Chang looked up and saw the startled birds, and said in a cold voice. Yes. Hearing Manager Chang's words, the white-faced young man responded and gestured behind him. Hundreds of strong men in black clothes emerged from the forest behind them, each holding a weapon, fierce and sturdy. Before they could move, Manager Chang suddenly waved his hand, and a black light suddenly shot out from his sleeve, cutting through the air and nailing a black snake to the rock. The rock was hard, but it was as brittle as tofu under the black light and was easily broken. The figure of the white-faced young man also moved with it, and quickly appeared beside the rock. He picked up the black snake killed by Manager Chang, put it close to his nose, and sniffed it fiercely. With the movement of the white-faced young man, a trace of red blood was absorbed into his body. As the blood entered his body, a gleam of light flashed in the white-faced young man's eyes. He walked in front of Manager Chang and said with a smile, Manager Chang has a very good eye. This black snake has a strong human smell and traces of sacrifice. It should be the eyes sent by the group below. Well, it seems that they are still very careful. Since we can't ambush them, just do it directly. It's not difficult to kill a few stragglers of the Red Leaf Society. Manager Chang nodded, moved his body, and charged in front, followed by the white-faced young man. Hundreds of strong men in black filed out of the forest and rushed down the mountain in a mighty manner. On the other side, where Yudongli was, Old Man Liu, who was controlling the black snake, groaned and exclaimed, My black snake has been discovered. There are experts in a lot of people. Be careful and get ready. Old Man Liu, you are too late. The enemy has already rushed down from the mountain. Seeing the enemy rushing like a black tide, Yudongli and others looked solemn. First update. To be continued. Chapter 67, with 2 armies facing each other, who dares to say that there is no one in Hongye Club? Judging from the number of people, the attackers are several times more than their own. The black-clad strong men who acted in unison and were powerful were obviously martial artists who had undergone rigorous training. In all aspects, they were more powerful than the scattered soldiers of the Red Leaf Society. Especially the middle-aged black-clad strong man and the white-faced young man who led the group. Seeing the 2 leading men, Yudongli's originally solemn face suddenly turned pale. Black-faced impermanence Chang Fenggai and white-faced impermanence Su Feng are 2 famous generals under the command of Mr. Chu. The black-clad army behind them is the impermanence army under Mr. Chu. Yudongli gritted his teeth and said the names of the people. When the other people heard it, they felt cold all over. Although they had been in Chuan City, they had also heard some rumors about the famous people under Mr. Chu in Dongxi City. The King of Hell decides life and death, and the impermanence comes to claim lives. If you say that Mr. Chu is the King of Hell of Dongxi City, then Hebei Wucheng is the evil ghosts under the King of Hell who are seeking our lives. How can we be so worthy that Hebei Wucheng, under the King of Hell, leads the Wucheng army to seek our lives? Old Man Liu, who had just recovered from the loss of his beloved pet, smiled miserably. While Yudongli and the others were talking, Hebei Wucheng led the Wucheng army to them, and just in time, they heard Old Man Liu's wailing. Hebei Wucheng waved his hand with Feng Yi, and the Wu Chang army immediately stopped and marched in unison. Chang Fenggai smiled as he swept his cold eyes over Yu Donglai and the others. He said to them, "There is really no need for the black and white impermanents to take action against you little bastards. Unfortunately, I have been very angry recently. My youngest son, Chang Yu, was inexplicably killed by your Red Leaf Society not long ago, so I want to kill some people to commemorate him." Who killed the black impermanence's youngest son? Yu Donglai and the others felt that the Red Leaf Society they joined seemed to have caused a big trouble after hearing what the black impermanence and Chang Fenggai said. They looked at each other in bewilderment, as no one knew that there was such a ruthless person in the Red Leaf Society. No need to look for it. The murderer is not among you, but a woman. Now I will give you a way out. Just commit suicide. I don't have to do it. Chang Fenggai looked down on everyone and said, as if he was the king of hell who was asking for his life, overlooking all living beings and deciding their life and death. With the cold eyes of the impermanence army falling one after another, the morale of Yu Donglai's side declined to the extreme, and they were in a panic and almost wanted to flee. At this moment, Yu Donglai stepped forward and stood out from the crowd. A green light appeared on his body, and he looked like a general who had just returned from the battlefield, carrying the might of the army. The courage of the people returned, and although they were still afraid, they were more courageous. Anyway, the might of the Wu Chang army was outside, and if they met them today, they would definitely not die well. It would be better to fight for a life and have a chance to survive. With his own strength, he broke the pressure of the momentum brought by the black and white Wu Chang and the Wu Chang army. Yu Donglai's face was no longer pale and solemn. He rubbed his hands and laughed and fought back. "Haha, Chang Fenggai, the person you are looking for is our vice president. But unfortunately, after today, you may not have the life to seek revenge on the vice president of our Hongye society." These words seemed to mean that they had defeated the black and white Wu Chang army. With such a high level of cultivation, how could he say such a thing? What gave him the courage? A ripple appeared in Chang Fenggai's heart, and the corner of his eyes involuntarily glanced at the surrounding mountains and forests. It seemed that he was looking for an ambush in the dark. "With your cultivation level, you dare to shout in front of us. Come and die." Yu Donglai's sudden change made by Wu Chang's Feng, who was next to Chang Fenggai, look unhappy. Chang Fenggai wanted to think about it, but he didn't. He sneered and started to move. Bai Wu Chang's Feng waved his sleeves, and a black smoke, mixed with bursts of ghosts and wolves howling, rushed towards Yu Donglai in an instant. "Brother Yu, be careful, this is Bai Wu Chang's soul-seeking smoke. The smoke contains a deadly poison, and there are ghost sounds that capture people's souls. If you are bewitched, your flesh and blood will rot in an instant and turn into dry bones." Before the black smoke arrived, a man named Gao Hao jumped out from behind Yu Donglai. This man was tall and strong, with lush hair and beard, and the dark red beard on his chin was particularly eye-catching. The black smoke came with a ghostly cry, and Gao Hao grinned and threw a gourd of kerosene, which exploded in the air and instantly ignited a raging fire, blocking the path of the black smoke. Playing tricks, using poison, taste Grandpa's red flame power. The soul-seeking smoke passed through the hot rain of fire, and the black smoke shrank by 90%, and the loud ghosts and wolves howling sound was also weak mosquitoes and flies. Gao Hao slapped out again, and the hot fire power exploded in the air, and the remaining black smoke was immediately burned and dissipated by the high temperature. "I have an idea, but how many times can you use such means?" Seeing that the soul-seeking smoke was burned to ashes by Gao Hao, Bai Wu Chang's Feng's face did not show any worry, but smiled very strangely. He shook his hand, and a pitch-black gourd appeared in his white palm. On the mouth of the gourd, the black mist with ghostly sounds appeared again. A magical instrument. This soul-demanding smoke is actually a magical instrument. No wonder the reputation of the black and white impermanence is so great. Looking at the gourd in Bai Wu Chang's hand, Gao Hao's smile disappeared, and his steps could not stop retreating. He had just been confident and slow, and he used all his strength to eliminate a black mist. Who would have thought that this soul-demanding smoke was actually stimulated by a magical instrument? As long as the gourd in Bai Wu Chang's hand is not destroyed and the magic power is endless, there will be as much black smoke as before. What should I do? The people behind Yu Donglai wailed in their hearts. At this moment, a cloud of black fog returned from afar. Hey Wu Chang Fenggai shook his head and said in a bored tone, "I thought you were ready and ambushed people nearby, but now it seems that you are just bluffing. Forget it, It's boring. Kill Feng, stop playing, kill them as soon as possible, and let's go back to drink early. As soon as Chang Fenggai finished speaking, a long white bone banner appeared in his hand. The long banner was about 10 feet long, and the banner was pitch black. Looking at it, it seemed that countless ghosts were wailing. Another magic weapon, the white bone soul-capturing banner. Look at this banner. I don't know how many flesh and blood-wronged souls have been sacrificed. Yu Donglai saw the origin of the long banner and thought it was not good. Okay, I won't play anymore. Wuchang army, get ready to kill without mercy. Bai Wuchang Su Qifeng smiled, spun the gourd in his hand, and ordered the army behind him. Wuchang army raised their swords, and the two sides faced each other. The atmosphere was extremely solemn. At this moment, suddenly, a cold female voice came from the forest, coming from far away. Who dares to say that there is no one in the Red Leaf Society? Vice President Luo Zuking is here. You scoundrels, get ready to bow your heads. Second update. Recommend a friend's new book. Chapter 68, Killed with One Blow. Dinner. Luo Zuking's figure slowly emerged amidst the swaying shadows of the trees. The sharp and domineering words made the atmosphere on the battlefield stagnate. The two sides who were about to fight stopped their actions at the same time. A pair of eyes widened and looked at Luo Zuking. President Luo is here, we are saved. Yu Donglai and his companions were delighted to see Luo Zuking, and felt relieved. Vice President Luo could come here, and maybe the president also knew their situation. With the strength of the president, the two black and white impermanents under Mr. Chu would definitely not be able to make any waves, so they had a chance to turn the tables. On the other side, the black and white impermanents who stopped and looked carefully at the jungle behind Luo Zuking found that there was only Luo Zuking and no ambush. Bai Wuchang Su Qifeng had a strange smile on his face, and said with a smile, with your insignificant strength, you want to be a hero in front of me, the black and white impermanents. Luo Zuking suddenly appeared. Although her momentum was intimidating, it could not change her strength as a low-grade Taoist child. Bai Wuchang Su Qifeng saw through Luo Zuking's background at a glance. The black and white impermanents were naturally not afraid of the newcomer, who had neither helpers nor strength. Even because he was just intimidated by Luo Zuking's words, Bai Wuchang felt an inexplicable sense of anger at being fooled. When this emotion came out, Luo Zuking was particularly dazzling when he looked at her again. As soon as the voice fell, Bai Wuchang smiled strangely and used all his strength to sacrifice the soul-demanding smoke. The smoke was lingering, and under Su Qifeng's control, it condensed into a thin layer of black smoke armor, attached to the body. This armor condensed a deadly poison, and there was a soul-stirring sound of ghosts crying and wolves howling, wrapping Su Qifeng as if he was a man-eating evil ghost crawling out of hell. Death-taking soul-chasing armor. Su Qifeng, wearing the black smoke armor, leaped up and flew, and in a few steps, he was in front of Luo Zuking. The billowing black smoke, surrounded by ghost sounds, hit Luo Zuking head-on. President, be careful. Gao Hao had personally faced the soul-chasing smoke and knew how powerful Bai Wuchang was. Seeing Bai Wuchang attacking Luo Zuking, he immediately shouted to warn. Facing Bai Wuchang's attack, Luo Zuking was as cold as ice, without any panic in her eyes. She raised the white bone long knife in her hand with a curled mouth. You are here just in time, please turn around, baby. As soon as Luo Zuking finished speaking, a black light shot out from the white bone long knife and suddenly rolled towards Bai Wuchang. Bai Wuchang's eyes were wide open, and his body leaping in the air suddenly stopped. A scream came from Bai Wuchang Su Qifeng's mouth, and the black smoke armor wrapped around Su Qifeng suddenly collapsed. The whole person seemed to lose power and fell to the ground with a clang. What's that? Bai Wuchang Su Qifeng's body fell to the ground, and his white head rolled to the side with hot liquid, his long tongue sticking out, his eyes wide open, like an evil ghost. Hey, just call you Bai Wuchang, this death is quite like an impermanence ghost. After Luo Zuking killed Bai Wuchang with a knife, she kicked out, and Bai Wuchang's head passed through the air and rolled in front of He Wuchang. The look of eyes wide open made He Wuchang feel cold in his heart. What a powerful spell. He Wuchang Fenggai just now did not see how Luo Zuking made the move. Her knife was not even unsheathed, but she still cut off Bai Wuchang's neck. If he faced this move, could he resist it? Just facing Luo Zuking, He Wuchang Fenggai felt a chill in his neck. There was no sure victory. Chang Fenggai, who had lost his brother, had already had a thought of retreating in his heart. However, during the confrontation, he did not show any fear on his face. Instead, he raised the long banner in his hand, and groups of ghosts appeared around him, protecting the vital parts of his body, and shouted, "Little girl, my brother just lost his hand for a moment, watch me avenge him." As he spoke, He Wuchang controlled the white-bone soul-capturing banner, urged more than 10 ghosts, and rolled up a chilling cold wind to attack Luo Zuking. More than 10 ghosts moved together, covering the sky and the earth, and for a time blocked everyone's sight. When the ghosts took action, He Wuchang and Chang Fenggai moved, hiding in the smoke of the ghosts, and fled in the opposite direction. As long as there is Green Mountain, there is no fear of running out of firewood. You wait and prepare to bear the wrath of Master Chu. The Black Impermanence, who was fleeing in a panic, muttered to himself, but before he finished speaking, he felt dizzy and confused, and saw a headless corpse running forward. The familiar appearance was exactly his own body. Your mind is flexible, but it's a pity that in front of absolute strength, no matter how much you jump around, you are still a clown. After finishing off the Black Impermanence with another knife, Luo Zuking held the white bone long knife and said in a calm tone, "Kill." Glancing at the large number of Wuchang troops who had lost their backbone, Luo Zuking slowly uttered a word. "The president is mighty." The Black and White Impermanents were killed, and Yu Donglai and others were very surprised. When Luo Zuking gave the order, they roared one by one and rushed towards the Wuchang army with the family members behind them. Fire, clouds, ghosts roaring for a moment, the forest was filled with wailing. Without the Black and White Impermanents leading the team and lacking high-end combat power, the Impermanence army, even with its numerical advantage, could not resist the power of magic. In a short while, a large number of corpses lay in the forest, with body parts scattered all over the ground and blood flowing like a river. Take off all these corpses. The equipment of the Impermanence army is quite good. Keep it for your future use. The corpses are piled together. They have all practiced martial arts and are full of blood. Don't waste them. After killing the last Impermanence army, Yu Donglai, who was covered in blood, ordered the family members behind him. This battle was a great victory. Only 3 unlucky people of Yu Donglai's group died in the counterattack of the Impermanence army, and more than 400 enemies were killed. Until the sky gradually darkened, Yu Donglai and his group finally cleaned up the battlefield. The battlefield that was originally full of corpses was now only a pile of withered and yellow bones, which added a bit of gloomy atmosphere to the gradually darkening forest. In line with the principle of not wasting, Luo Zuking offered the white bone soul-snatching knife to both the bodies of the Black and White Impermanents and the bodies of the Impermanence army. With a contribution of more than 400 people, the white bone soul-snatching knife in her hand was filled with blood and entangled with wronged souls. Playing with the 2 magic weapons of the Black and White Impermanents, Luo Zuking saw that everyone had finished packing and said in a deep voice, "Let's go." On the other side, in the station next to the Shinto spirit realm, Mr. Chu, the 3 leaders of the San Gang, and Lu Feng sat at a square table. There were all kinds of food and wine on the table, and the 3 of them were chatting and laughing. After 3 rounds of wine, Qi-san calculated the time, his eyes rolled, raised his wine glass, and toasted Mr. Chu, calculating the time. Mr. Chu's Impermanence army should be back. Recently, the Sam Gang has encountered a difficult problem. If you can send the Impermanence army to help. As soon as Qi-san opened his mouth, the atmosphere at the table suddenly stagnated. First update. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. I'm having a writer's block on chapter 69, so it might be late today. I'll read it tomorrow. As the title says, I was delayed for a while today. I still have 50 minutes left, but I can't finish writing 2,000 words. Plus, I'm a bit stuck, and I'm not very good at describing scenes of battles and strategies, so I'm dragging my feet and it's painful. It may take a while. Don't wait, read it tomorrow morning. I would like to ask my readers to forgive me, thank you. Kneeling and Kowtow JPG. Chapter 70, Return in Triumph. Miscalculation. Bang. Lu Feng smashed the wine glass on the table, stared at Qi-san, pretended to be angry and said, "Qi-san, what do you mean? You are sure to defeat my Red Leaf Society, right?" Hearing this, Sam shook his head, picked up the wine glass and took a sip, his eyes narrowed into a slit. Hey, President Luo, don't get angry. Now is a happy time for our three families to get together. How can we ruin the mood of everyone's gathering because of a small matter? Don't you think so, Mr. Chu? Mr. Chu, who looked like a scholar, shook the wine in the glass, glanced at San and Lu Feng, and said, "This little thing is indeed not worth President Luo's anger. It's just a few minions. Why bother?" Yes, yes, yes. President Luo, don't lose your composure. You, don't go too far. Lu Feng slapped the table, stood up, stared at the four people in front of him, and gritted his teeth. At the same time, a momentum burst out from Lu Feng and pressed towards the four people. Tang. Young Master Chu waved a beauty fan in his hand and effortlessly resisted the momentum from Lu Feng. The three people from the Sand Gang blended their auras and worked together to resist Lu Feng, but the bench under their buttocks retreated a palm distance under the pressure of Lu Feng's aura. In the momentum competition, the strength of the three parties was clearly visible. However, young Master Chu's aura turned around and mixed with the three people from the Sand Gang, and they pressed towards Lu Feng together. Lu Feng and the emergence of the Red Leaf Society stirred up the situation in Dongxi City and Chuan City, which naturally made the local gang forces unhappy. Somehow, the Sam Gang stepped on the same boat with young Master Chu and jointly planned to eliminate the Red Leaf Society. That's why today's Huangman banquet and the dispatch of the Black and White Impermanence Army under young Master Chu were possible. However, Lu Feng was well prepared and everything had been arranged. Young Master Chu and the three people from the Sand Gang worked together, and their aura was oppressive, and Lu Feng felt the pressure. Although Lu Feng's strength has improved, he still can't fight two people alone. His face sank, and the brilliance of the King Mu spirit realm burst out from behind him, offsetting the pressure of the crushing momentum. Mr. Chu, Sand Gang, if you really want to do it, I already have the spirit realm in my hand. You can't kill me, don't force me, otherwise, don't blame me for slaughtering your men. When Lu Feng burst out the power of the spirit realm, a deep ghost aura burst out from Mr. Chu, and the three people from the Sand Gang coordinated their auras, and a star power also appeared. The three forces intertwined, and for a while they actually maintained a three-legged scene. Although the three people from the Sand Gang helped Mr. Chu deal with Lu Feng, they did not work hard and were very perfunctory. They were afraid that if they put in a little more effort, Lu Feng would be defeated, which would benefit Mr. Chu and destroy the delicate situation between Dongxi City and Chuan City. Seeing that a fight was about to break out, the wealthy Wang Wu, however, smiled and tried to smooth things over. Don't be angry. Anger hurts your body and is not conducive to cultivation. Why don't you give my Sam Gang some face and sit down to talk? Aren't they just a few casual cultivators? Wang Wu seemed to be mediating, but he was a little aware of the hatred between the two, which deepened the hatred between Lu Feng and Mr. Chu. Humph. Lu Feng snorted coldly, and said nothing more. He sat back at the table and drank in silence, like a young wife who had been angry. Seeing Lu Feng admitting defeat, the three people from the Sand Gang also sat back at the table and drank with a smile. Mr. Chu was in power, and a smug smile appeared on his fair face. At this moment, suddenly, a cry of surprise came from outside the drinking room. In the evening when the sun was setting, the people of the Red Leaf Club returned with a full load, causing the people in the camp to exclaim in amazement. Not long ago, during the Sand Gang's campaign, the news that Mr. Chu's Wuchang army was going to deal with the emerging force Hongye society had spread throughout the camp. People in the camp who knew the name of the Wuchang army had guessed the result of this action. At this moment, the result was announced, and the two-level reversal shocked everyone. The people of Hongye society are back. They seem to have taken the equipment of the Wuchang army. The Wuchang army didn't come back. Were they killed by them? How is that possible? Noisy exclamations spread into the room, and the faces of several people at the table suddenly changed. Mr. Chu, who was still smiling, lost his smile in an instant, and the three cheerful Sand Gang members also looked ugly. Lu Feng, who was frowning, was overjoyed. He slapped his wine glass on the table, rushed out of the room with a laugh, and went to the door of the camp to welcome the returning people of Hongye society. After he left, a fierce fight broke out in the room behind him. The ghostly aura and the bright stars, the Sam Gang and Mr. Chu immediately had a small fight. Black and White Impermanence played an important role for Master Chu, and were related to the construction of his Yin Ghost realm. At this time, Master Chu was so angry that his face turned green when he was defeated in this insignificant fight. It would take at least 10 years to train another pair of black and white impermanents. Seeing that the Shinto realm was about to be born, he simply could not wait that long. For a while, Master Chu even thought about killing the 3 people from the Sand Gang desperately. As for killing Lu Feng, judging from the test fight at the dinner just now, Master Chu was not sure. After a while, Lu Feng was eyeing him covetously. Master Chu failed to use all his strength, and the 3 gang leaders of the Sand Gang did not want to fight desperately, so Lu Feng became the fisherman. Master Chu only caused the 3 gang leaders of the Sand Gang to suffer minor injuries, and stopped the fight when the 3 gang leaders begged for mercy and compensation. Under the attention of the crowd, Lu Feng welcomed the people from the Sand Gang who entered the camp. With a strength comparable to that of Mr. Chu, and the fame of destroying the Impermanence army, the Red Leaf Society became famous between the 2 cities. Back at the Red Leaf Society's headquarters next to the stone house, under the moonlight, Lu Feng looked in the direction of Mr. Chu and the Sand Gang, knowing that after this turmoil, the next fight between the 3 parties would be the time when the Shinto spirit realm would be opened. Before that, with this lesson, the Sand Gang and Mr. Chu should be quiet for a while. Unfortunately, my strength is still a little bit lacking. The spirit realm of the earthly immortal world is still too super. With the blessing of the spirit realm, the strength before and after is one world apart. Lu Feng sighed leisurely. The more he practiced the earthly immortal Dao, the more he felt that the earthly immortal Dao was profound, and was fundamentally different from the way of the wizard. The way of the wizard, borrowing power from heaven and earth, performing powerful witchcraft, destroying heaven and earth. The way of earthly immortals, however, is to create the world in a small space, allowing the practitioner to become a piece of heaven and earth. Every move is blessed by the power of heaven and earth, with infinite power and earth shaking. I have only touched the surface, and there is still a long way to go. Second update. Good night. Chapter 71, Redefining the White Bone Soul Snatching Knife. Interest. After returning to the stone house, Luo Zuking came hurriedly and reported today's results to Lu Feng. Seriously, in today's battle, the Red Leaf Society killed 2 generals, black and white impermanents, under the command of Mr. Chu, 416 impermanent soldiers, 34 injured, 3 dead, and seized a number of weapons and armor. Well, although it was a favorable battle, they can hold out against the Impermanence army of black and white impermanents until you die, which is also good enough. Lu Feng said with a smile. These new children of the casual cultivator families who joined the Red Leaf Society were originally incidental. Lu Feng was not demanding to achieve this level. But since they have joined the Red Leaf Society, they must follow the rules of the Red Leaf Society, and clearly distinguish between rewards and punishments. Follow-up treatment and pensions must also be followed up in place. Don't let the members of the Red Leaf Society feel cold. Lu Feng reminded. I understand, and I will definitely not let the president down. Hearing this, Luo Zuki nodded seriously. Oh, by the way, President. These 2 magic weapons belong to the black and white impermanents. I was lucky enough to kill them with the 2 mysterious soul-stealing sword key bestowed by you. As she spoke, Luo Zuking presented the white bone soul-stealing banner and soul-stealing smoke of the black and white impermanents. Oh, 2 magic weapons. This Mr. Chu is really a generous master. He treats his subordinates very well. Lu Feng's eyes lit up when he took over the white bone banner and the black orb containing the soul-stealing smoke, and he said teasingly, in the world of earthly immortals, resources are scarce, and it is not so easy to sacrifice and refine a magic weapon. The Taoist child realm can use magic weapons, but most Taoist children who have cultivated magic power can only use garbage magic weapons. The magic weapons are simple, and only need to use magic power to continuously sacrifice runes on the objects. A low-grade Taoist child can sacrifice and refine a magic weapon in a few years. According to the memory of monk Hujing, the small Vajra mantra, the small Prajna mantra, and the small light mantra all have matching methods for refining talismans. With more effort and time, refining a talisman will give you a good chance in the world of earthly immortals. However, it is not a simple matter to refine a usable magic weapon. It is impossible to succeed by just accumulating time and refining magic power. From the beginning of refining, you need to select suitable materials. Spiritual materials and natural treasures are the best, and then you need a complete set of magic weapon restrictions. In the memory that Lu Feng got from monk Hujing, only the Zuanine soul-snatching blade is a complete set of magic weapon restrictions. However, the quality is not very good. The magic weapon refined can only form 3 magic weapon restrictions at most, which can only be a low-grade magic weapon. Lu Feng's Zuan soul-snatching blade key can exert such power, all thanks to the pure death power in the ghost tree fragments. The 2 magic weapons seized by Luo Zuking. The bone soul-snatching banner is a low-grade magical instrument with 2 restrictions, and is at the same level as Luo Zuking's refined bone knife. The gourd filled with soul-snatching smoke is also a low-grade magical instrument with 2 restrictions. 2 low-grade magical instruments with 2 restrictions, in Lu Feng's hands, with 2 users at the Dao Tong level. With more practice, it won't be long before Lu Feng can have a pair of black and white impermanents under his command. Master Chu will be distressed now. By the way, Zuking, give me the bone soul-snatching knife, and I will help you melt this bone soul-snatching banner and practice it into the knife. I will add some ingredients, and I should be able to practice a low-grade magical instrument with 3 restrictions. However, Lu Feng is not planning to get a pair of black and white impermanents as his subordinates, but to improve Luo Zuking's combat effectiveness. It is better to train a strong person directly than to get 2 dwarfs. Luo Zuking can fight a little bit, just enough to suppress the Red Leaf Society. If he returns to the wizard world to do business that day, without him in charge, the Red Leaf Society will be wiped out, which would be a big waste. President, this is not good. I haven't done anything meritorious. The killing of the black and white impermanents is all the credit of the president. I don't deserve such a reward. Lu Feng's kindness was so great that it made Luo Zuking panic. It doesn't matter. It's just a low-grade magic weapon with 3 restrictions. It's nothing. What's more, I sometimes need to leave the station. If I'm not there, the Red Leaf Society will have no strong people in charge and lose manpower. Isn't it a slap in my face? Lu Feng shook his head and explained without caring about Luo Zuking's words. After hearing this, Luo Zuking also understood the burden on her shoulders as the vice president of the Red Leaf Society. She is no longer alone now, but needs to consider the entire Red Leaf Society. Taking the white bone soul-snatching knife from Luo Zuking, Lu Feng began to disassemble the white bone soul-snatching banner and slowly practiced the materials and restrictions into the white bone soul-snatching knife. This was not the first time that Lu Feng had practiced the white bone soul-snatching blade. He was already familiar with the restrictions of the white bone soul-snatching blade, and with the help of the Kingmu spirit realm, he could practice it with ease. Lu Feng was concentrating on practicing the white bone soul-snatching blade, while Luo Zuking waited on him carefully, not daring to disturb him. Luo Zuking also learned a lot from watching Lu Feng's practice of practicing the weapon, and his grasp of timing, which was verified with a practice method in his mind. Time passed in a flash, and 3 days passed. At this moment, the white bone soul-snatching banner in front of Lu Feng, which was as tall as a person, had disappeared, leaving only the slender white bone soul-snatching blade suspended in front of Lu Feng under the support of his magic power. Lu Feng pinched the seals in his hands, and the magic formulas continued. Runes condensed by magic power and emitting bursts of yin qi continued to condense in the air, and were injected into the white bone soul-snatching blade one by Lu Feng. The white bone soul-snatching knife, which had absorbed the flesh and blood of the 400 impermanent soldiers, originally had a layer of filthy blood and resentment on its surface, which was full of murderous aura. In the past 3 days, after Lu Feng's sacrifice and refining, the essence of the flesh and blood of the 400 people had been completely digested by the white bone soul-snatching knife, and the materials and magical instrument restrictions of the white bone soul-snatching banner were also absorbed and digested by the white bone soul-snatching knife. Buzz! As Lu Feng's last magic rune fell into the white bone soul-snatching knife, the white bone blade floating in the air trembled slightly, and the black light on the white bone blade became stronger. Without Lu Feng's magic power to support it, the white bone soul-snatching knife actually floated up on its own and suspended in the air. This was the 3rd magical instrument restriction sacrifice of the white bone soul-snatching knife that was successfully refined. At this time, Lu Feng sank his mind slightly and fell into the white bone soul-snatching knife, and saw 3 black and red light circles floating in the blade, forming a knife-shaped space. There were also 9 ghosts holding the knife inside, surrounding the light circle, absorbing the yin qi and the power of death, and nurturing the powerful knife energy. Throwing the refined bone soul-snatching knife to Luo Zuking, Lu Feng said tiredly, "I have already refined this magic weapon. It has 3 magic weapon restrictions. It is considered a good item among the lower-grade magic weapons. You can practice it more and get familiar with it. When you catch up with your cultivation and reach the realm of middle-grade Taoist children, you can also use it to deal with upper-grade Taoist children. As for characters like the black and white impermanents, you can kill as many as you want. Thank you, President, for the gift. Luo Zuking took the bone soul-snatching knife with both hands respectfully, and her heart was heavy. At this moment, this long knife is not only a lower-grade magic weapon, but also the trust and respect of the seniors for her. First update, to be continued. Chapter 72: The Development of the Red Leaf Society. By the way, speaking of cultivation, how many acupoints have you opened through the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra? Lu Feng asked. With Lu Feng's strength, if he used a little mental power, Luo Zuking would be no different from being naked in front of him, and he could tell how many acupoints she had at a glance. But now, Luo Zuking is still his employee after all, so Lu Feng still respects her personal privacy. President, I am really ashamed. I have been practicing for a long time, but I have only opened 6 acupoints. When it comes to cultivation, Luo Zuking's face showed inferiority. Even with the help of Lu Feng, her life spirit plant has been upgraded to a higher level and can barely be counted as a spirit plant. But she does not have Lu Feng's foundation and the environment of heaven and earth with rich spiritual energy, so her cultivation is not growing fast. These days, she has only opened 3 more acupoints of the Qingmu Changsheng Sutra, and her cultivation is growing slowly. Although it is much faster than other casual cultivators in the Red Leaf Society, it is still not good enough for Lu Feng. After listening to Luo Zuking's explanation, Lu Feng nodded and said, "How about this? When you are free during the day, give me your spiritual ginseng, and I will collect it in the spiritual realm space for you to cultivate it. At night, you can go back and digest the spiritual ginseng you have obtained for the day. It can be done this way." Lu Feng's proposal surprised Luo Zuking. Although she knew that Lu Feng had started to build this spiritual realm, she never thought that the spiritual realm could have such a function. Knowing that her cultivation was low and would affect the development of the Red Leaf Society, Luo Zuking did not refuse, and directly took out her life spiritual ginseng and handed it to Lu Feng. Put Luo Zuking's life spiritual ginseng into the Qingmu spiritual realm. Although the space in the Qingmu spiritual realm is small, it is more than enough to collect a spiritual ginseng. Next to the energy-absorbing ancient tree seed, the emerald green divine light of the Qingmu spiritual realm enveloped Luo Zuking's spiritual ginseng. After being in the earthly immortal world, where the spiritual energy of heaven and earth is barren, Luo Zuking's small spiritual ginseng has never enjoyed the environment of the Qingmu spiritual realm with abundant spiritual energy of plants and trees. Under the nourishment of the divine light, the spiritual ginseng happily stretched out its branches and leaves, absorbed the spiritual energy of the plants in the Qingmu spirit realm, and grew well. Lu Feng, who owned the wizard world, didn't care about the little consumption of the spiritual ginseng. Every night, he returned to the wizard world to digest the incense and wish power of Hongye town. Even if a little leaked out, it was enough for Luo Zuking's small spiritual ginseng to become a big fat man. After dealing with the white bone soul-catching banner of He Wu Chang, he also gave Luo Zuking a boost. Lu Feng kept another magic weapon of Bai Wu Chang, the soul-seeking smoke. Apart from the smoke that harmed people's lives, the appearance of this magic weapon was still quite pleasing. The small black orb was round and shiny, and felt good. Lu Feng threw it into the Qingmu spirit realm to raise it, and took it out to play with it when he was bored, which was quite interesting. With Yu Donglei and several other casual cultivators bringing more than 100 family members to join the Red Leaf Club, the originally deserted Red Leaf Club suddenly became lively. In addition, the Red Leaf Society has a high-quality Taoist child master who has achieved the spiritual realm, and has eliminated the 2 generals of black and white impermanence under the command of Master Chu, as well as the reputation of many impermanence troops. Many casual cultivators in the 2 cities have heard about the rules and benefits of the Red Leaf Society and began to think about it. Some bold casual cultivators directly joined the Red Leaf Society and were warmly welcomed by Luo Zuking. Join the society, hand in the skills, obtain Red Leaf points, and exchange for the treasures and skills you like. The casual cultivators who are familiar with and agree with the Red Leaf process and join the Red Leaf Society discover the benefits of the Red Leaf Society. The resources in the world of earthly immortals are barren. It is difficult for casual cultivators to practice on their own with a family heirloom or a skill obtained by chance. Cultivation is not an easy thing. It is not something that can be achieved and become immortals by working behind closed doors. Cultivation is more like a person following the skills and paths of the predecessors, and then doing a study of his own according to his own situation. It is even more necessary to constantly learn, communicate, and discuss, and use the sparks of wisdom to collide with the most exciting cultivation principles. In the Red Leaf Society, the casual cultivators experienced a different method of cultivation and deeply realized the benefits. After realizing the benefits, those who joined the Red Leaf Society first began to persuade their relatives and friends to join the Red Leaf Society. After seeing the real benefits, those casual cultivators who were originally hesitant followed the benefits of the Red Leaf Society and joined in. Half a month later, before the Shinto spirit realm was born, the Red Leaf Society had expanded from more than a dozen casual cultivators to 72 casual cultivators. As for ordinary people who had not yet cultivated magic power and practiced martial arts to strengthen their bodies, there were nearly 1,000 people. It has become another behemoth between Dongxi City and Chuan City. With Lu Feng's stone house as the center, the Red Leaf Society expanded its base and worked together to occupy 1/3 of the area next to the Light Gate. Yinayan, together with Mr. Chu and the San Gang, formed a three-legged situation near the Shinto spirit realm. Neither Lu Feng nor Luo Zuking had ever thought that such a small place like the two cities could hide so many independent cultivators who had not joined the forces. The two cities were full of outstanding people and beautiful scenery, or it was that Master Chu and the San Gang were too unpopular. Lu Feng didn't have the heart to think about these things. The joining of these people, just the skills and methods they contributed, made Lu Feng satisfied. Of course, in order to obtain these skills, Lu Feng also took out some spiritual resources. Most of them were some spiritual plants pulled from the wizard world in Kane Manor. Under the rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth, the plants in the wizard world were just ordinary plants, but they became good things sought after by many independent cultivators in the Red Leaf Society. The members of the Red Leaf Society obtained plants rich in spiritual energy, and Lu Feng paid some physical strength and obtained a large number of skills from the earthly immortal world, the crystallization of wisdom. This was a win-win deal. Well, Lu Feng won twice. When the number of people in the Red Leaf Society increased, Luo Zuking, as the vice president, also became busy. Dealing with all matters of the Red Leaf Society on behalf of Lu Feng and making all kinds of decisions also exhausted Luo Zuking. However, whenever she was exhausted, Luo Zuking would stroke the white-bone soul-stealing knife given to her by Lu Feng. At the same time, she absorbed the abundant spiritual energy from the spiritual ginseng to improve her cultivation. Thinking about all the changes, Luo Zuking felt that everything she had paid was worth it. Compared with everything given to her by her predecessors, this little bit of tiredness and suffering was nothing. With self-encouragement and Lu Feng's occasional care, Luo Zuking was soon full of energy and returned to her job as vice president in high spirits to dedicate herself to Lu Feng and the Red Leaf Society. With the help of Lu Feng, Luo Zuking has become a qualified vice president of the Red Leaf Society. With Lu Feng's expectations, she will lead the Red Leaf Society to become bigger and stronger and create brilliance. First, set a small goal to kill Mr. Chu and the San Gang. Second update, please read. Chapter 73, Ready to Take Action. Wizard Tower. Dongxi City and Chuan City are just this big. With the development of Lu Feng's Red Leaf Society, after winning over the scattered cultivators to form a force, Master Chu and the San Gang both felt a little overwhelmed. In front of the high welfare benefits of the Red Leaf Society, the treatment offered by the two families to their subordinates seemed a little thin. Water flows to the low places, and people climb to the high places. Look at what you get, and then look at what others get. They are all the same work, but the salary and treatment are very different. With a comparison, the bottom members of the two families inevitably have a little more different emotions in their hearts. The desire to change jobs and change camps is ready. However, under the deterrence of Master Chu and the three gang leaders of the San Gang, the bottom gang members have not put their ideas into action for the time being, and there has been a phenomenon of defection. But in daily work, such negative emotions are inevitably emitted. Many middle-level leaders have heard their subordinates discussing the treatment of the Red Leaf Society in groups of 3 or 5. Hearing such talk about the Red Leaf Society, the middle-level leaders would at most take some ruthless action and punish the gang members who set the pace. But the more this happened, the more widely the situation of the Red Leaf Society spread among the lower-level gang members of the two gangs. Many lower-level gang members were ready to make a move. Even some middle-level leaders who were not doing well in the two gangs had different thoughts in their minds after hearing about the benefits of the Red Leaf Society. Feeling the emotions of the lower-level gang members, whether it was Master Chiu or the three gang leaders of the San Gang, their faces were very ugly. The two gangs relied on their outstanding strength to squeeze the lower-level gang members as much as possible to seize the resources for their cultivation. They never considered the treatment of the lower-level gang members. What are the lower-level gang members? A group of ordinary people who are not even warriors. All of them are consumables for the two gangs. If they can live better than ordinary people outside the gang, eat enough, and survive, they are the best tools to work for them. Master Chiu and the San Gang, the two gangs are playing each other badly. There is no worse, only the worst. In addition, between Dongxi City and Chuan City, there are barren mountains and old forests, and the road is very long. There are countless bandits entrenched on the only official road, which naturally makes it impossible for the lower-level gang members to change their gangs. They can only work for the two families under the military rule of the two families and fight for their lives. But now, the Red Leaf Society took advantage of the opportunity of the emergence of the Shinto spirit realm and relied on Lu Feng's military power, which is not inferior to that of the two gang leaders, and his superpower of wealth and power to snatch a piece of land from the mouths of the two families and develop rapidly. For a time, neither Chu Gongzi nor San Gang had the ability to kill the Red Leaf Society alone. A three-legged situation was formed. The influence of the Red Leaf Society made the San Gang and Chu Gongzi uncomfortable. When Chu Gongzi and San Gang were having a headache, Lu Feng was sitting safely in the Red Leaf Society's residence, which was gradually growing and expanding. Luo Zuking was very busy every day, but with her efforts, the Red Leaf Society was thriving. As the president of the Red Leaf Society, Lu Feng clearly observed that the Red Leaf Society of more than 1,000 people gathered the will of humanity. Although it cannot be compared with the Red Leaf Town in the wizard world, the development of the Red Leaf Society can be regarded as on the right track. Not to mention, many casual cultivators who joined the Red Leaf Society provided Lu Feng with many earthly immortal world cultivation methods. This is his biggest gain from developing the Red Leaf Society. Lu Feng handed over the work of managing the Red Leaf Society to Luo Zuking, and he himself was immersed in the study of some world cultivation methods. The more he saw, the more Lu Feng grasped the veins of the Taoism of the earthly immortal world, and he had a little more of his own perception and understanding of the construction and development of the Qingmu spirit realm. Usually, he controlled and practiced the Qingmu spirit realm as he wished. These days, Lu Feng continued to practice the Qingmu spirit realm every day, and the energy-absorbing ancient tree seeds continued to absorb the rich wood energy in the ghost tree fragments, nourishing the spiritual realm restrictions in the seeds. Lu Feng's mind sank into the Qingmu spirit realm, and he saw the spiritual realm restriction formed by 108 mysterious runes in the energy-absorbing ancient tree seed. The green light circle had a layer of emerald green divine light. This spiritual realm restriction had been refined by Lu Feng to 10%. When he refined the restriction aura to perfection, the Qingmu spirit realm would be completed. The remaining 90% of the work was a long way to go. When the Red Leaf Club in the earthly immortal world was developing in full swing, the Red Leaf Town in the wizard world also changed a little bit as Lu Feng opened the basic breathing method. The core function of the basic night breathing method was to strengthen the body. After setting off a nationwide practice craze in Red Leaf Town, the effect of the breathing method gradually emerged after practicing for 2 or 3 months. According to the theory of the earthly immortal world, a strong body leads to a strong spirit. The residents of Red Leaf Town became physically strong, and their mental state naturally improved slowly. From the perspective of barren Red Leaf Town is now full of vigorous vitality for upward development, which is a scene that has never appeared since the establishment of Red Leaf Town. Baron Hongye, who loves the land of Hongye Town, feels the changes in Hongye Town and is so happy every day that he often stands in front of the portraits of the successive generations of Baron Hongye and mutters to himself. He proudly tells the successive generations of Baron Hongye about his heroic deeds and the great changes he has brought to Hongye Town. He is honored and proud. When Hongye Town was booming, the Black Rocks transported from the Black Rock Mountains for Lu Feng's apprentice version of the Wizard Tower were finally in place at the end of the cold winter month. When he came to the construction site of Cane Manor and looked at the piles of black rocks, Lu Feng smiled with satisfaction. It has been more than half a year since he drew the design of the Wizard Tower, and now the materials are in place. With the ability and speed of ordinary people in Hongye Town, it is considered good to achieve this level. But after seeing the power of wizards in the botanical garden, this level is still not enough. Both Hongye Town and Lu Feng himself still need to work hard. If he had the strength of a formal wizard, he could turn mud into stone with the spell and use the mud under his feet to mold a simple wizard tower. Lu Feng envied that kind of power. However, with the sacrifice of King Mu's spirit realm, Lu Feng believed that the day when he had the strength of a formal wizard was not far away, and the future was promising. The Black Rock is basically in place, and the next step is to build the wizard tower, which is destined to be a difficult process. Lu Feng called Annie and Houston, took out the design of the wizard tower, and instructed. The wizard tower drawn by Lu Feng is a hexagonal prism tower, narrow at the top and wide at the bottom, with a total of 8 floors, 6 above the ground and 2 underground, covering an area of 10,000 square meters. It is divided into rooms for different purposes: basic laboratories, spell practice fields, secret gardens, experimental biological prisons, and elemental energy pools. Due to limited strength and financial resources, Lu Feng castrated some of the functions of a formal wizard tower, such as witchcraft guards, attack arrays, tower spirits, and puppet manufacturing workshops. But building a simple wizard tower is still a huge project. First update. To be continued. Chapter 74: A Place to Stay. A spring surprise. No matter how huge the project of the wizard tower is, Lu Feng's plan that he has already made will not change. A wizard tower, with its core elemental energy pool and protective magic array, can form a solid iron shell fortress. After it is built, as long as it is not a formal wizard, no matter how many third-class wizard apprentices of the same level come to the trendy secondary continent, Lu Feng will not be afraid. Lu Feng's safety factor can be increased several times. Who can refuse a place to settle down? At least Lu Feng can't. Understood, Master. We will build the wizard tower carefully according to the design on the drawing. Annie and Houston nodded and answered seriously. What Lu Feng values, Annie and Houston naturally value very much. Having been apprentices under Lu Feng for so long, they certainly know the power of a wizard tower. In the future, they will also move into the wizard tower with Lu Feng. At that time, the wizard tower will not only be a place for Lu Feng to settle down, but also a place for them to settle down. Therefore, for Master Lu Feng and for their own future, Annie and Houston put a lot of effort into the construction of the wizard tower. In the music and ceremony with the characteristics of Hongye Town, witnessed by many prominent figures and countless residents of Hongye Town, Lu Feng dug the first shovel of soil and officially started the construction of the wizard tower. Baron Hongye called this ceremony the foundation laying ceremony, saying that it was a ceremony passed down from generation to generation in Hongye Town. Meaning, pray for good luck and peace in the construction project. After the foundation laying ceremony, everyone dispersed, and the workers summoned by Baron Hongye officially started the construction of the wizard tower under the supervision of Annie and Houston. The work on the site was orderly, which made Lu Feng very satisfied. On the construction site, in addition to ordinary workers, Lu Feng also saw some knight apprentices with particularly strong bodies, who were doing some work that required strength. These people were the knight apprentices that Lu Feng asked Annie to recruit, and they were a group of guards trained for the future wizard tower. This group of knight apprentices practiced not the widely spread basic knight breathing method, but the savage elephant breathing method modified by Lu Feng. With the help of some vitality potions provided by Lu Feng, these people have achieved some success in practicing savage elephant breathing method. Basically, they have reached the realm of high-level knight apprentices in the wizard world. Although they have not yet broken through the physical limit and produced the life seeds that cause qualitative changes, due to the effect of savage elephant breathing method on strength growth, each knight apprentice has become a strong man with big shoulders and waist, and can lift a weight of 100 or 200 kilograms with one hand without any pressure. In order to speed up the training of the wizard tower, Lu Feng did not hesitate to arrange all these knight apprentices who could flatten the high-end combat power of Hongye Town to the construction site. It is called a trial to test a character and select those with strong will, but in fact it makes them the best workers. But with the help of these knight apprentices, the work efficiency of ordinary workers on the construction site has been significantly improved. Originally, a standard-sized black rock weighed 300 or 400 pounds, and it took 3 or 4 workers to lift it, but now a knight apprentice can lift it with a little more effort. In an instant, countless manpower was saved. Sure enough, extraordinary power is the core productivity. Lu Feng smiled and exclaimed. As the project progressed, not only the knight apprentice, but also Lu Feng and the wizard Mathieu joined in the construction of the wizard tower. Mathieu is a medium-level wizard apprentice, and can control 14 white skeletons at a time. Each white skeleton has the strength of a primary knight. Mathieu has 2 carefully cultivated white skeletons in his hands, and they have reached the level of a great knight. These skeletons are at most a group of cannon fodder in the Battle of Wizards, but when they join the construction of the wizard tower, they are cranes and transport vehicles with infinite strength and tirelessness. Brother, you only know how to torment an old man like me. I am a wizard. How can I do such dirty and tiring work? Wizard Mathieu complained with a smile. But after Lu Feng promised him a room in the wizard tower, Wizard Mathieu did not complain at all, and wholeheartedly controlled his skeletons to work on the construction site. Seeing Wizard Mathieu's skilled appearance, Lu Feng knew at a glance, Wizard Mathieu must have done a lot of this kind of dirty and tiring work of selling skeletons when he was in the White Bone Cemetery. Skeletons are easy to feed, not afraid of hardship or fatigue. They have always been excellent cannon fodder and long-term laborers in the wizard world. Lu Feng once read in a book about a formal wizard who controlled a sea of skeletons to dig out a different plane full of ore for him. If he had not specialized in botany in the botanical garden, the botanical garden was generally full of disgust for undead creatures, and the cold breath of the undead could easily weaken the vitality of the body, which conflicted with his major meditation method. Lu Feng would have raised 2 skeletons. Seeing how powerful Wizard Mathieu was, Annie and Houston could not help but have the idea of raising skeletons. After obtaining the consent of Lu Feng and Mathieu, the 2 also learned the knowledge and spells of the undead from Mathieu. Annie's bloodline of the Red Ridge Yin Fire Snake was originally inclined to death and fire. In addition, she practiced a moon wheel meditation method, and her body and soul were baptized by the power of the moonlight, which was very compatible with the undead spells. She made rapid progress in learning. In 3 or 5 days, Annie summoned her own white skeleton. Limited by her strength as a first-class wizard apprentice, the white skeleton she summoned for the first time was only at the level of a high-level knight apprentice. But it was enough to make Annie satisfied and excited. If she continues to cultivate in the future, the white skeleton she summoned will become stronger. As for Houston, it's better not to mention it. After studying for a long time, he made little progress, and finally went back to practice the savage elephant breathing method and the witchcraft wisdom spell. It was these 2 simple things that he could still feel a little gratifying progress when practicing. As the warm spring breeze and drizzle blew away the last ray of coldness of the winter moon, both the Red Leaf Town in the Wizard World and the Red Leaf Club headquarters in the Earthly World ushered in the spring of the new year. The 2 forces under Lu Feng also flourished with the arrival of spring. However, when Lu Feng wanted to guard his own piece of land and live a good life, there were always some troubles coming to him. On this day, when Lu Feng was inspecting the construction site of the Wizard Tower, suddenly Baron Redleaf came to him with a team of cavalry. Rester, it's bad. Something happened in Redleaf Town. A village east of Redleaf Castle was attacked. Cavalry Captain Kadir rushed to rescue and was also seriously injured. If it weren't for his recent improvement in breathing, he would have almost been unable to come back. Second update. Please read it. Chapter 75 Blood Poison, Black Valley Village. The incident was urgent. Kadir, as an old man in Hongye Town, was in his prime. He had worked under Baron Andre of Hongye for more than 10 years and had always been loyal. Before Lu Feng returned, Kadir and Baron Andre were the only 2 knights in Hongye Town. During the recent popularization of breathing methods, Kadir was given the savage elephant breathing method by Baron Hongye. After practicing for a long time, his strength was further enhanced. Even so, Kadir was seriously injured and had to escape with difficulty, which shows how strong the enemy is. At least he was at the level of a great knight, and it was even possible that he was a wizard apprentice. Baron Hongye did not have a stronger fighting force, so he could only ask for help from Lu Feng and Wizard Mathieu. Let's go see Kadir first and find out the situation. He is the only one who has seen the enemy. Kadir's situation is not good now. Rest, I may need to trouble you again. Lu Feng needed to understand the situation. Baron Andre heard it and immediately took everyone back to Hongye Castle. Kadir, who returned injured, was temporarily placed in the castle. However, when Lu Feng and the others saw the injured Kadir, they were all shocked by the scene before them. Kadir was locked in a sturdy iron cage. His skin was pale, his veins were bulging, and his fingers had long black nails. He was like a mad beast, holding on to the iron pillars of the iron cage. His eyes were red, his mouth was drooling, and he let out waves of meaningless roars. When he saw Lu Feng and the others, he didn't seem to recognize them at all. Instead, he was like a hungry beast, drooling and salivating over their flesh and blood. How could Uncle Kadir become like this? Houston asked in disbelief. He really couldn't believe that Uncle Kadir, who had always taken good care of him, had turned into such a half-human, half-ghost appearance in front of him. Baron Andre explained, "This morning, Cardi led the cavalry of Red Leaf Castle on a routine patrol of the territory. When they patrolled to Black Valley Village north of Red Leaf Town, they found a group of sneaky people wandering outside Black Valley Village. When Cardi led the cavalry to check, the sneaky people suddenly launched an attack. According to Cardi's description before he fell into coma, each of these people had the strength of a knight, and the leader was extremely powerful. He was injured in the first encounter, and with a desperate delay of his cavalry, Cardi escaped with injuries. After escaping to the outside of Red Leaf Town, he was discovered by residents who were out of the town and sent to Red Leaf Castle. After a simple treatment, Cardi woke up for a while, explained some situations, and suddenly became uncontrollably what he is now. Cardi seemed to be unconscious in this state. After the change, he scratched several servants in the castle. I had no choice but to put Cardi in an iron cage. Then I went to call you immediately." After learning what happened, everyone's faces looked a little ugly. Sleeping spell. Lu Feng formed seals with his hands, chanted the spell, and cast a light green magic aura. Under the effect of the 0-level spell sleeping spell, Kadir, who was like a beast in the iron cage, quickly calmed down. The ferocious claws that grabbed the iron pillar also loosened, and his red eyes slowly calmed down. He closed his eyes and fell into the iron cage. Seeing Kadir calm down, Lu Feng and Wizard Matayu immediately stepped forward to check Kadir's body. "Rester, I smell the smell of dark creatures in Kadir's blood." Wizard Matayu used the knife to cut Kadir's skin, let out some blood, and then identified it. Comparing with the knowledge of dark creatures in his memory, Matayu determined that Kadir was infected with blood poison. Lu Feng nodded and affirmed Matayu's identification result. Lu Feng and Matayu had received professional wizard education and knew a lot. But half-baked wizard apprentices like Anne, as well as Baron Andre and others, were completely confused when talking about blood poison. Wizard Matayu saw the confusion of the crowd and patiently explained, "Blood poison is a special blood toxin secreted by the dark creature vampires. In the cognition of wizards, each vast continent is not only a vast land on the surface of the continent, but also a dark world hidden deep under the surface. Vampires are a medium-level dark race in the dark world. They feed on blood, and creatures whose blood is sucked by vampires are often infected by the blood poison in the vampire's body fluids. Those with low strength are very likely to become irrational blood-sucking monsters under the erosion of blood poison." After Matayu's explanation, everyone had a preliminary impression of vampires. Lu Feng followed up on Matayu's words and added, "However, theoretically speaking, the passages connecting the dark world on the Trandy subcontinent have been cleared by formal wizards, and it is basically impossible for a medium-level dark race like a vampire to get out. You know, as a medium-level dark race, many of them can reach the level of formal wizards when they grow up. If vampires can escape from the dark world, with their ability to create a large number of dependent servants through the condensed blood energy of the heart essence, it won't be long before this continent becomes a vampire pasture." This possibility flashed through Lu Feng's mind, and he immediately shook his head and denied this idea. If a vampire of this level really appeared, it would be impossible for it to only attack a cavalry squad in Hongye town. At least they should attack him directly and the wizard apprentices in other places. Through these speculations, Lu Feng estimated that the vampire that was making trouble near Hongye town should not be strong. However, Lu Feng did not dare to take it lightly. If this vampire was given enough time to devour enough blood and develop, it would definitely be a disaster. Soon, after confirming the enemy's intelligence, Lu Feng rode on a white velociraptor, took Annie and a small group of fully armed manor cavalry, and rushed to the Black Valley village north of Hongye town. The wizard Matayu stayed to treat Kadir. He was proficient in the undead system and had dealt with the dark race. It was not difficult to treat Kadir's blood poison, and he could also stay in Hongye town to avoid any trouble. This matter could not be delayed. If it was delayed for a while, more residents of Hongye territory would be poisoned by vampires. The residents of Hongye territory were all good citizens who loved Lu Feng and provided him with willpower. As the patron saint of Hongye territory, Lu Feng had to fulfill his responsibilities. The group galloped all the way with their horses' hooves flying. Thanks to the good infrastructure of Hongye town, there is a straight and flat dirt road from Hongye town to Black Valley village. Hongye village, close to the edge of Hongye's territory, has a flat field. Most of the villagers here make a living by growing grains, which is also the granary of Hongye town. After riding for less than an hour, Lu Feng and others arrived outside Hongye village. It looks like we are late. First update. To be continued. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.